a playlist original.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your hosts, Gaius and Jackson. It's the best day of the week. It's recording day. How's it going?
Yeah. My favorite, man. It's been a good week. Got some good watches in. Excited to chat about a lot of new stuff. It was a busy week development wise, news. So yeah, like you said, man, this is one of my favorite times to get together and chat. So looking forward to today's episode. How you doing?
I'm doing good. It makes Mondays like a bit more bearable, because like usually, you hear that expression, like people say, "Oh, I have the case of the Mondays," and sometimes like,
that's right.
You can feel that strongly. But like doing this on a Monday, it's like, all right, I have something like really like fun and like positive to look forward to. So it makes Monday a whole lot better. And
it goes a long way because beyond like before we started recording on a Monday, like I had that typical Monday. It was just work, and then maybe I would like go to the gym or something at night. I didn't like set aside anything like fun to do for myself. I'd probably like watch a movie or something, which I also was able to do today. But it's awesome to be able to do something that you love to do on the shittiest day of the week.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Cheers to that.
We're turning Mondays around. It's
right.
This was actually too, before we get into like the main crux of the show, this was like a really good weekend for the podcast on Good Pods.
Yes.
I already sent Jackson and Owen this info like offline, but when I record with him later, and I'm recording with you now, like we're going to talk about it a little bit. But first of all, Good Pods has been very good for us in the sense that the show joined Good Pods right when they were like building their platform too. They were kind of like wanted it to be like a showcase for like independent podcasters that don't have, the money and backing to like get their shows like fully, discovered. And like, cause we're not Joe Rogan, you know what I mean? So it's like,
the standard.
It's been a really cool tool to kind of like, not to say that like, hey, if you're listening on Spotify, that's great. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, also great. I push Good Pods a lot because not only is it good for independent podcasters, but it's a very supportive, like family of, people who are doing the same thing. That are like grinding this kind of stuff out and like doing it because they love it. And the good thing about Good Pod is that like when you play someone's episode, it's featured on their front page. So like other people start discovering your show like in a really like organic way because they see like, oh, like this, they might like, something that's similar. So that it's been good in that regard. When we first started, so we started November
2021.
21. And I became like obsessed with like film review chart because I was like, I would watch the show like steadily go up. Like it would start like kind of low, and I'm like, all right, well, there's 100 shows on the list, and you're at like and you're like at 90. You're like, all right, well, okay, I'll look at it later. And then they send out emails too whenever your position like rises. So like there was like a time where it was like we kept moving up and up and up and up. And I remember when we cracked like the top 10, I was like, well, I'm cool with being at number 10. That's pretty awesome. After
wicked.
And like, and also too, for everyone listening, bear in mind, like this is like in your specific niche, basically. So there's there's all like any like network, there's tons of like podcasts. So there's true crime, sports, like all that kind of stuff. But like what you want to look at is like what you're in, like what category you're in. And I think it was towards the end of the year or during our first year, we cracked the top 5, and then we hit number 1 at one point, and we did it a few times. And I was like, all right, this is cool. Let me figure out like how to like utilize this in a way that I should. And I think people appreciate like full transparency. Like the show went through a lot of changes. Like Owen left for a bit, and then we kind of went through like trying to find like the right fits as far as like co-hosts and stuff, and thankfully we found you. So the show was like kind of always like in flux a little bit, where it's like I was still happy doing it, but you could tell that there was like, all right, we got to figure out like some kind of direction. Then I would like kind of watch this kind of go down the chart. And I was like, but I think it was like, if I'm not giving as much passion into it, then like people listening to it might kind of feel that too. So I just like, all right, you know what? I'm going to try to make as many positive changes I can for it. One of them was like our year anniversary, bringing Owen back and then starting the spinoff. Like I worked out a schedule that worked for him. And, instead of doing every week, it was every other week. And then it came down to like finding like, do I want a permanent co-host or do I want to switch people in and out? And I kind of knew pretty quickly, like once you guessed it, and I was like, all right, no, I can have like a permanent co-host. So like, then that started working out. So I've mentioned it before, like, great call. Yeah. Going to my own horn. but a lot of people have been saying like, the show seems so much more focused with you on it. And you can tell that you got Owen, you were enjoying doing the spinoff, and so
Oh, big
I
time.
put my attention back into Good Pods. Like, all right, how can I utilize this in the best way possible? And then I actually had like email exchange with Jen, who works for them, and she was like, hey, here are some ideas. You're already doing fine, on your own, but like this is what you can kind of do to kind of probably, keep yourself in that spot. And keep in mind, like there's so many shows that come out that you are going to kind of fluctuate and like go with different places on that list. And there have been a lot. I mean, there's in that top 10, there are some people that have been on like our show in the past, and it's cool to kind of see those people in those spots because, a lot of us started our shows around the same time. And
okay.
So it's like it's a really nice friendly competition where it's like, oh, like if Antonio's the Cult Worthy podcast is number one, like that's fucking awesome because he is out of a lot of us that do it, he is a champ and like knows this stuff. I feel like the back of his hand. So like it's cool to even be in that same company.
Oh yeah, it's nice to see everyone doing well for themselves, right? Like it's all good natured, friendly. It's good to see everyone eating, right?
Exactly. And so, but like playfully, like when Owen came back and we were doing the spinoff, he's like, dude, like I want to get back to number one. It'd be cool if we can get back to number one. So like, we would like chilling in the top 5. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, maybe that's the wall. Maybe that's the new ceiling. Cool with like top 5. And I think like when we did those, like we had 3 episodes drop last week.
Right.
And I think we all said it on the John Wick one. They're like, all right, it has to happen like this week. There's just a lot of content out there right now. Like, that's right. So I checked it. Then we were up at number 2, and I sent that. I was like, all right, number 2 is also great.
Absolutely.
But then, like,
proud moment.
During the day on Friday, I'm like at my other job and like just scrolling through. I even checked my email. I was just scrolling through Good Pods, and then like we were at number 1 again, and that was fucking awesome,
man. That is awesome. It feels good, man. You should be proud too.
It's cool too because I feel like it was coming off like really strong episodes for us. Like, so like when you look at it deeper too, you can actually look in like, so we were number 1 in under the film review chart for film and TV. We hit number 4 because they have more like shows in the film and TV section. Right. And then the top 100 shows, like any category, we were at number 24, which is amazing for like, that was just all their shows, like any category. Like, right. Yeah. So that was great. But then I started looking at like, all right,
wow,
they actually break down the top 100 episodes for the week, and all of the episodes that we did charted. The Scream one did especially well on Good Pods. I think it's just people love that franchise, and like it's fun. We had guests on like that, that helps too because they spread the word about the episode as well when they're on it. I think that had a lot to do with that episode doing really well. The John Wick one did really well too. I mean, it was trending, so like the movie, the 4th one came out that weekend.
Naturally, yeah.
And another win for Owen because the Dogma spinoff episode was actually doing very well too. It was still when I looked Sunday, it was still in the top 100 episodes. So I don't know if that's because Ben Affleck is also trending because he's in Air right now, and like and he's also in Dogma. Look, I mean, Owen's just been really good at picking trendy movies for our
That's right. He has an uncanny ability, man. It's crazy, and like many of the picks, I consider myself a pretty like, well-educated movie guy, and like many of those picks I was completely unaware of, even Dogma included. So like, on top of like picking these trending movies that are maybe lesser known, it's just super sweet to like be putting people onto these lesser known movies. Like that is like a great side effect of the deep dive. Like that is like super. I guess it is probably like definitely one of the goals of doing it, but I think that is just a really awesome quality about the deep dive.
Yeah, it's cool too because JC, Merc with the movies, he says like he revisits the movies first that we pick, and then he'll listen to the episode afterwards. Nice. So I think that's kind of cool. That's
like, a loyal listener right there.
I know, like like he's like I want to see like I want it like fresh in my mind, and then like listen to how you guys break it down. So I think that's a cool thing too. It's kind of been like by design that we haven't picked huge movies, and it's not like we could. I mean, I don't. It could be one day that we might throw in like Tenet or something. Like, all right, let's see what we do with that.
Exactly.
But it has been like really nice to kind of shed a light on like smaller movies, or maybe just movies you just forgot about. Not because necessarily that they weren't good or they didn't.
I like that quality of the deep dive. Like that seems like just naturally like what it would be about, right? Like, cause like obviously these bigger known blockbusters, pardon the pun, most people, are familiar with them, have probably seen them, are acquainted with them, but the deep dive is a great opportunity to put people on these lesser known, but quality movies that like you want people to go see and give some love to.
Exactly. So it's been nice doing that. But I think congratulations just for like all of us, because like every
Really?
there's that show with him, even though like it's separate. I mean, it's still one team. Just try to make that point very clear as well, that everyone wants the show to be successful. Like he listens to episodes that he listens to the show even though he's not on the main show every week. So like it's
Right.
it's good for, it's a positive, fun thing for all of us, and then like it's really rewarding to kind of see that kind of paying off. And I'm glad that like it involved like all three of us. So I think that it wasn't just like the spin-off episode did great, but the other two were like, It was nice that
Right.
everyone contributed to that happening. So big thank you officially, in person, virtually, thanking you for just being a part
Oh
of
my
that.
God, dude. Man, the thanks belongs to you, man. This like super honored and happy to be a part of it. And like this goes out to Owen too. Like, but you put in a lot of work for it to make it successful. So, give yourself a pat on the back too, man. You deserve a lot of the praise for it. And like good on all of us, man. It's awesome to see being rewarded for the stuff we do. It's great. And thank you for everyone listening and supporting us. Like we couldn't do without you guys. So we're happy to have you guys along for the ride.
Yep. I mean, yeah, and
That's awesome.
it's a very good thing to say. I mean, like, of course, like this doesn't really work if there's no listeners. I love that like playlist is also very, very supportive, and they were like, we love.
Yeah,
I got an email from the day about like they were like sending me some technical stuff that they wanted to see like working on and whatever, but they were like, we really love the show, and they were like, we really love the show, we really love what Jackson brings to it. We love that you were able to keep Owen on in some capacity. Like they're very supportive of it, and they have been from the beginning. Because when this started, I was pitched as, they were like, "Hey, we'll do all this, the editing and stuff. You don't have to be involved in that, but we'll give you like a season, and if that season is successful, then we'll like keep you going." And then that, the caveat there was like, but if it's not, then like, you figure this out on your own. But you still own Back to the Blockbuster. This is all you. Like, but if we parted ways, I mean, you would have to just end up doing this yourself. And I remember I was like, all right, we don't really have seasons. So I was like, I wonder when they're going to let me know, like, how it's doing.
I was curious about that too when you mentioned that.
Yeah, I remember. So it was November when we started. I think it was like January, like as soon as the new year hit, that they sent us like numbers and like number downloads and all this stuff. And they were like, oh, we're definitely keeping you around, like however long you want, however long you want to work with us, we are going to be working with you. And that felt good to not have that whole like, all right, I hope this is going all right.
That weight off the chest. Yeah, exactly.
A little bit, because it would have been one of those things like, all right, well, that was fun to do for 12 episodes, and now we're done. And now, God, we're recording episode 85 today and 86 later. So that's crazy. Yep. It's funny too, because when we were talking about doing the episodes with you all of us together, and he was like, well, episode 100, that's going to be a while if we wait for that. And I was like, it seemed like it, but the way we've been like plugging along, it's getting closer and closer and closer.
Pumping up those numbers. Yeah, definitely. That's coming up.
But that's like a nature of like being excited to do it. So I'm happy to like crank out episodes, and like it's been fun. What? I guess the best way to explain it is like the last 2 months or however long you've been on and like spinoff has been going on, it doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel like work. It's just fun. And I think that's the best way to look at it.
Took the words right out of my mouth. And that's like the best thing you want to be able to say about something that fundamentally is work, especially on your side of things. Like it is like things we put our time into. This is something that we have other people contributing their time and effort to, like editing wise and promotion wise. So it very much is like fundamentally work, but it does not, you hit the nail on the head, does not feel like work at all. Something that I look forward to every week. Would even like, I revel in the times of pumping out more episodes a week. I would love to, if I wasn't at a 9 to 5 all day, I would be doing this much more often. But on the other hand, it is nice the way that the amount that we do it. It's nice that we're not like, swamped in movie stuff, because, things take things in moderation, right? Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing sometimes, but I think we have a sweet spot going.
Yeah, I think so too. It's been fun. I mean, that's the best way to put it. It's just been fun. We've had really fun discussions, fun like things we've gotten to like kind of jump into. And honestly, I mean, it's work too. Like I said, I didn't even know you in December really before I was like, hey, do you want to like do this every week?
Yeah, I was like, hell yeah, dude. Like, you have no idea. I've been waiting for this opportunity.
You be like, nah, that was fun, but I don't know if I can do it every week. And I thought, I mean, that was cool that it all worked out. So like, so thank you everyone for listening. This only will make us work harder probably to maintain that. So gives us the fuel and the fire that we need to keep this stuff going. So thank you guys so much. And I guess now we can jump into What
Yeah.
have you watched? What have you caught up on? I actually want to preface this. I did not see Dungeons and Dragons. Not that I didn't want to. I
Right.
just didn't have time. Our friend's birthday was on Saturday. My brother did go on Thursday. He said
Oh, okay.
he said it was surprisingly good. That is what I'm hearing from a lot of people. There's a big like question mark about like the box office for it. Like some people are like, that's pretty good opening weekend for a movie that I don't think anyone expected to be like huge.
Right.
But it's also a very pricey movie. But it's like $150 million to make.
I didn't
But
know that.
I think what's gonna like save its butt and probably will allow it to start a franchise. I can see the movie doing very well like globally. And I think that's gonna be more of
Yeah.
a factor rather than how well it does domestically too. I think they're gonna look at all angles of it, and then Paramount will probably be like, all right, are these numbers strong enough to warrant a franchise? And I think with all the goodwill and good reviews it's gotten, and listen, I mean, I told you this before. I thought of all the March releases that we got, I thought Dungeons and Dragons was gonna crash and burn
Right.
until I saw those reviews, and I was like, what? All right,
Bit of an unpredictable month.
I mean, I'm cool with being wrong. It's fine. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
we all want movies to be like successful, but sometimes you're just like, I don't know if that one's gonna hit, and but good on them. I mean, like we can talk about it when we talk about box office. I think it's good enough for Paramount right now. It also depends on how it handles like its next weekend, if it takes a
Right.
dive or like that kind of stuff.
I think even if it does like say lose some money for and like this is me, like I have no idea how in box office, we haven't chatted that yet. But I feel like Paramount's a little cash rich right now, considering like their last like 3 or 4 months, they've done great at the box office. So I think they can spare it and could definitely, if it gets positive word of mouth, positive reviews, even if not everyone's rushing out to see it in the theaters, if they see it's doing well critically, I can definitely see them greenlighting sequels, maybe making a franchise out of it, because this will no doubt create hype for future movies going forward. Once people realize they're sleeping on it, because a lot of people that I put my trust into YouTube wise, like some critics have been saying they liked it. It was a little expectation subverter and just like didn't take itself too seriously. It's got a lot of good things going for it. So yeah, I also haven't checked it out yet, but am looking forward to hopefully checking it out while it's in theaters.
Yeah, we had an interesting discussion too, because it got brought up. When you lower your expectations because you're like, oh, I don't know, I wasn't expecting much. Does that still make the movie like good, or just because like you lowered your expectations like so low that you're like, all right, that was better than I thought it was gonna be? Like, it's interesting. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Question. Yeah, absolutely. That is a
like I did that with I did that with Uncharted. I ended up liking it and I thought it was fun, but I lowered my expectations to the floor, and I might have helped a little bit.
Definitely. You know what? It can help with your first viewing. I think the real test for the quality of the movie would be how it holds up on rewatch, and that could be applied to probably any movie, if you ask me.
Nice. I agree with that. All right. So what did you actually watch since we recorded last?
Movie wise, it was a light week for me, other than the movie that I just got done watching that I will save for, I guess I watched Wild Things because we're making an episode about it anniversary wise. I'll save all that chat though for later. The only other movie I got in was Speed, which I'd seen before, but
I saw that you posted that on the story. I was like, yeah, that movie, I think it might be, you know what? I know there's like different subgenres of action, but I just think for my money, it might be my favorite, like just straight like action movie. Like, I mean, like it shouldn't work. And I think a lot of people like when it came out were like, it shouldn't work, but it like does. And like it's from start to finish is so, I mean, there's some issues with like, and I guess the director and writers felt this way too. Once it gets off the bus, and then you have the whole stuff with like, Sandra Bullock getting like nabbed up by Dennis Hopper and all that. Yeah, that was like, I guess that was like a studio thing. They were like, they needed more action to happen. Like once the bus, and like the people involved in the movie feel like it's a little tacked on. And I guess you could say that it does a little bit, but I think it works enough where it's like, it had to go somewhere with him, I guess. And like, and the action eventually has to get off the bus. But man, all that stuff on the bus though is gold. Like every bit of that movie is gold.
Absolutely. Like it holds up extremely well. Like Keanu just had that golden touch, man, especially in the 90s and early 2000s. Like he could not miss. Like his movies were great. Like I'm just like post John Wick, I've just been on this like crazy Keanu train here. And as much as I love and I've seen Point Break so many times, like I feel like that's another one that I'm going to be slating to watch here soon. But it's been a long time since I've seen Speed. My buddy Cam brought it over. Like he usually brings over a few flicks, stuff that he knows we haven't seen or want to see together. And that was an easy pick. Like I was like, just coming off the John Wicks, we watched them all together. It held up incredibly well. It was awesome action movie. Just everything I would love about a 90s movie, that movie had in it. Dennis Hopper too, like one of my favorites. Like Sandra Bullock was great. Like, I mean, she's always been a great looking woman, but like I haven't seen a lot of like 90s Sandra Bullock. Man, she was gorgeous.
So
and,
like, she was
a great presence.
That was like a huge. So she had done, I think, Demolition Man a year before, and with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes, and like I mean, I she's a great actress, I think, but I think back in the day when she started. And I think this is a really good quality to have as an actor or actress, whatever. Like, she's just naturally very likable, I think. You can actually 100%. See that. You can see that in her movies. You can see that in her interviews when she's promoting her movies. Like, it's something very, and she rode that for a long time. Like, her movies were like kind of hits because, you know, there's always a big debate about who was really like America's sweetheart. Is it Julia Roberts or Sandra Bullock? They were both kind of doing like the same type of movies back in the day. And it's funny. Interestingly enough, Julia Roberts was offered the proposal, turned it down. Sandra Bullock did it. Was a big hit for her. She also turned down The Blind Side. Julia Roberts, Sandra Bullock took it, got an Oscar for it.
Got her Oscar for it, yeah.
And I think it's also, I don't think they have any bad blood, but I think it's interesting that they've never worked together. Like, it's like, it seemed like their paths would like have crossed that, and they're, because, you know, they both like working with the same people, both very close with George Clooney, oddly enough. Like, I mean, it feels like their worlds should have somehow collided and like never have, but like, yeah, and Speed though, I mean, she's just so naturally good in that, and she's funny. Like, I think she steals a lot of her scenes that she's in. Like, I love when she hits the stroller and she thinks there's the baby in it, and she like starts freaking out, and then kiddo's like, "Oh, they're cans." Like, what? it's so good, and like,
she's very animated in her.
That movie made her like a huge star after that. Like, she was in like so many. Her roles after that were just like, I think she did While You Were Sleeping right after that. She did The Net, like all back to back, A Time to Kill, like all back to back, and they were all like hits back to back.
Right on.
And then she came back for that sequel, and she came back for Speed 2: Cruise Control.
Man,
and we
anybody else come back?
No, Keanu Reeves turned it down. They offered, and you know what? I respect her for saying this. It was a paycheck movie for her. They offered her the most money that she had ever been offered up until that point to come back.
Yeah, money talks.
She fully admits that it's not a good movie. It doesn't work. She took it for the money. So, like, whatever. And I think they learned pretty quickly that you can't call a movie B when it takes place on a cruise ship. Like, it's not not conducive of a movie with that title. But she's gonna have,
she's gonna be a character with some of the worst luck ever being in those two movies. Like,
I know. That's the only good thing about Speed 2 is that they kind of play up that kind of like, gone through this before, kind of like, she's actually not bad at it. I mean, of course, she's like likable in everything she's in.
Of course,
it's just awful. Like, Jason Patrick plays the guy, her new guy. It's good. They don't have as good chemistry as like her and Keanu Reeves did. Willem Dafoe plays the villain. He does chew up some scenery. And I guess that's kind of fun.
Why is he in every single movie ever? I love that guy so much. I had no idea. I did not expect you to say his name.
But I think if you want to laugh, if you haven't seen it.
Okay.
Could be a good
comedy watch.
Yeah. Compared to like how good Speed is, it's like, it was clearly like one idea movie that should have stayed a one idea movie on that.
Right. But rarely do big action, successful blockbusters stay as solo films, right? We know that there's tons of examples of, cash grab studio sequels, and not surprised to hear Speed was victim to that. Although, like, the name kind of rings a bell, but I wouldn't have been able to tell you that there was a sequel to that, but I'm not surprised to hear it. On the note of their chemistry, though, I did recently see, I don't remember what was going on when this was a news topic, but I'm sure you saw this too. There was a big thing going on about how they recently admitted they both had huge crushes on each other
while they were making the movie. Yeah, and they didn't tell each other.
Yeah, that's right. And so they went years of not ever like confessing these feelings for each other. As far as I know, are they still both single?
No, he has a girlfriend. He doesn't really talk about her a lot, but she was. No. She did go to the John Wick 4 premiere with him. Like,
right. I remember this.
I think I don't know if she's married, but I know that she is with someone that she has.
Sandra?
Like, either a long-term boyfriend, they might be engaged now.
Okay.
But yeah, it's so interesting. Like, two ships. They could have easily gotten
what could have been.
What could have been. Also, fun fact about Speed, in that role of Annie, Ellen DeGeneres was up for that part back in the day.
No.
And so was Halle Berry. And I can just see Halle Berry doing it.
I can see Halle Berry.
Yeah, I'm glad it ended up with Sandra Bullock, because we probably wouldn't have like the Sandra Bullock we know today if she not gotten that role.
That's a great point. I didn't realize how much of a career catalyst it was for her, but happy that it worked out because she's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it movie wise, but I did start something that I've been putting off way longer than I should have. Very glad I got back into it, because I did see season 1 of the show when it was first coming out, and I don't know why I just never went back to it. It wasn't for lack of quality or not enjoying it, but I got the first 3 episodes in of Better Call Saul. I'm a huge Breaking Bad fan, like anybody is, but I've been really enjoying that watch so far. So I ordered the first season and I've been going through that like wildfire. Very much enjoying it. Nice. So those are my watches. Have you seen Better Call Saul?
I feel like I'm gonna like disappoint you like drastically right now. So here's the deal. I've never watched Breaking Bad, so I've never watched Better Call Saul.
God.
My little brother just binged Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He was like, "You haven't watched this?" That's why sometimes my friends jokingly are like, "Dude, you can't be talking about shit like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, it's great, it's good, but like you need to watch Breaking Bad." I've also never watched Game of Thrones. I know, like, that's another big. I know I'm killing you right now.
I can't say shit like that. Like, trust me, there's plenty of awesome things I haven't seen either. Like, those are, man, like, you gotta make sure you see those shows sometime, dude.
Yeah, I've had people being like, "You're not a real journalist if you've never watched those shows." I'm like, probably. I know
the amount of stuff I'm sure
bit of a fraud
would rival most people. I know that you watch a lot of stuff. It's hard to get everything in, but I'm sure you must get razzed about that. Though I wouldn't be saying that all the time, right? People must be.
I get a lot of shit because there's such like. I mean, really changed like kind of landscape of TV in a lot of ways. Like, there's always like these kind of shows that come out that kind of like, this is like the new standard. So like back in the day, it was The Sopranos, like on HBO.
I was about to say that.
That was like a new standard of like, you know, what you can do with like, with television and like really complex writing and really great acting. And like, these are not like just TV shows anymore. You are making like little mini movies like every
episode.
And then like, you know, even though I've never watched them, I know Breaking Bad was a huge game changer too. I watched its like ascension pretty closely, because I remember like, ratings wise, it would just go up and up and up every season, and I was like, all right, well, I am clearly not a part of this party, and I probably should be. Maybe one day, but then you just start watching other stuff.
Yeah, I know. 100%. Once you start, you will not slow down. And I will say, as good as everybody says Breaking Bad is, as flawless as the reviews are, you'll never hear anybody talk bad about it. It is as good as everyone says it is, man. It is better. It is just a masterpiece on all metrics. I really am not afraid of hyping it up too much, because I know it lives up to it. And probably the only property that I can say that about, especially a show that runs as long as it does. Like, I'd say that about Chernobyl, but it's 5 episodes. But Breaking Bad is, give or take, like 60-ish episodes, and every single one is bulletproof. It's incredible. So
I've heard that from everyone, man. Every person. I've never heard anyone say one bad thing about either show. Actually, I've heard like really good things about Better Call Saul as well. Like, it's a good kind of companion piece to Breaking Bad. And you know what? I will eventually get to it. I know can't wait. It's such a big one too. Like, it is like, you know, you could have an excuse for not watching certain things. Like, I mean, especially, you know, when I choose to watch certain shows, people are like, Breaking Bad's like right there. Why aren't you watching it? I'm like, I know.
I bet you'll watch it in a month though. Not in a month's time, but I bet you it'll only take you about that long to watch it, because you won't put it down. It's
my brother like page through it. He breezed through it, and that and Better Call Saul. So I was like, all right, you know, I'll jump on the bandwagon.
Better Call Saul has all the right ingredients too. It seems like it's going to be just as good a companion show, and I'm very excited. Wait till you see Bob Odenkirk, man, in that show. Him, Giancarlo Esposito, and Jonathan Banks, who plays Mike Ehrmantraut, beyond Aaron Paul and Bryan Cranston, like, just probably the best supporting cast of any show that I can think of.
Yeah,
at the top of my head.
Owen actually got to meet Bryan Cranston. I think that picture ended up on our Back to the Blockbuster page. Like, what? It was like, so he was doing him and Aaron Paul have like tequila or something together, I think.
Yes.
And they actually came to one of our local bars, American Junkie, and they actually announced that they were going to be there.
Wow.
Aaron Paul ended up not showing up, but Bryan Cranston did, and Owen got a picture with him, so he got to meet him. So I think that was pretty cool. And I've actually heard nothing but nice things about Bryan Cranston as well. Like I don't think anyone has any.
Same here. No,
and Aaron Paul as well. Like too. Like, and then and I've actually seen clips from Breaking Bad. Like just to kind of showcase some of their. I know showcase some of their acting, and like they both seem very, very good on that show. And particularly Aaron Paul. I mean, from what I've seen, he seems very committed to that role.
Yes, he is.
But yeah, man, I hate to like put a dagger in your heart like that. I was like, I have to say,
it's okay. I was surprised though. My heart skipped a beat. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, no, avoid spoilers at all costs. When you get around to it, I'm not gonna like pressure you to get into it or anything. But like I know when you start, you won't stop, and I cannot wait to be with you for that ride because man, it is fun. It's like Shakespearean proportions. Like it feels like something that he would have wrote, like the man. But yeah, so yeah, Better Call Saul, 3 episodes in.
Nice. Well, I didn't really get to watch a lot. I watched Succession last night. I got home late and watched it.
Is this season 4 premiere or
so it's the second episode of season so far. So I'm gonna miss it when it's gone. I get it. To create something and know that like the shelf life, this is good. Like I got 4 seasons to tell this story. They've talked to some of the actors who said that they think it could have gone on maybe another season or 2. I also found out that they all found out at table read for like that
I saw them,
and I guess everyone had different emotions about it. I think Sarah Snook was the most emotional, they said, and then other people were kind of like, Brian Cox was like, yeah, I'm good with it, but like I could see it also going on. And also a very interesting cast dynamic because I know, it's funny because like Jeremy Strong has gotten a lot of shit from. I guess playful shit. Yeah. The way that Jeremy Strong describes it, is that is kind of like their dynamic on the show. It's like a father-son thing. You don't always like get along with your folks sometimes, and sometimes you have disagreements. This disagreement happens to be over like Jeremy Strong being a method actor, and Brian Cox has like zero time to deal with that. Apparently, I love like there's certain people when they get a certain age, they get a certain age, and then you can tell that they give like 0 fucks. I feel like Brian Cox is like in that, where he's just like He also gives him like a compliment. He's like, "You're really like too good for that. Like you're actually naturally good. Like you don't need to like get all like off in the corner by yourself and like get in the character." And each member of the cast has like commented on it in their own way. Like Kieran Culkin was like, like it's his process. It's not a process that I particularly agree with.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does create some like distance. I think between him and some of his co-stars. I don't know how. Whatever. I'm not saying what he's doing. Because he's a good actor, he's great on the show, and I love the dynamic between everyone on the show, which is why I think it's one of like the best written shows on television right now, and the acting is phenomenal. That's what I'm going to miss the most about it.
Yeah,
but I also like I used to love this show, like Bates Motel, which is like
I remember Bates Motel,
and I remember the creator of that show was like, if it's successful and we get lucky enough to have this many seasons, it's 5, and you knew that from the beginning. That he was going to do 5 seasons, and that's how they were going to. And then you're watching it, and it builds up to where you kind of get to the point where Norman is like in Psycho, basically. Right. And so it's a natural progression. And like, even though I was bummed the show ended, I was like, it's more concise storytelling when like there's a beginning, middle, and an end. Like exactly where that's going. Okay. And I think it makes the shows better, and I think that's what has happened with Succession. It's just great writing and a great group of actors. Like I said, though, it is funny to watch, though, like just knowing about the whole like method acting process and like them not really liking it. We've talked about it on the show. If you go back to like older episodes, man, like we brought this up when we were all together for the John Wick one. Yes. But we used to railroad Jared Leto. It was like so
for Suicide Squad or for like just
for almost everything that he. So like okay. I like Jared Leto pre like him winning an Oscar. Like Requiem for a Dream is like one of my like favorite movies. I think he's great in it. I think he's great in it.
Fair enough.
He was also on this like teen show back in the day called My So Called Life. Only 1 season, but it was like pretty popular it became popular later, like a kind of a cult kind of thing. It was Claire Danes' first big role. He was good then. I liked him more as a younger actor. But then when you learn
about, he's got a nice little small role. He's great in that.
But then you learn about his process. Learn about his process. Like, did you hear about the stuff he did with Suicide Squad? Like,
like sounding like used condoms to his co-star.
And
there was other things too, but
gifting a dead rat to Margot Robbie. And my favorite part about that story is Viola Davis, like in her interview, like confirming it. Oh yeah, he definitely did that. I don't know why, but he definitely did it because she was like, because we talked about it. He definitely did it.
yeah,
That would be weird to me. I mean, I wouldn't like.
no
I would.
doubt.
I like if I opened up a box and there was a dead fucking rat in it, and I have to work with you for the next like 2 months. I would feel some kind of way about that. I mean, I get why some people don't like the method acting thing, especially if you're playing an asshole and that's how you're gonna act the entire time you're on set.
Yeah,
Then I could see that being an issue. You know, like Anne Hathaway said that she never got to really meet Meryl Streep until they were done doing The Devil Wears Prada, because Meryl Streep, it doesn't always do this, but I think for that role she wanted to create this kind of like cold little distance between her and Anne Hathaway. It works for the movie, and it does. Like the dynamic works in the film, but like Anne Hathaway was like, I never really truly met the real her until we were done filming. She was Niecy Nash was talking about when she did Dahmer with Evan Peters, said that she never met Evan Peters until they were done shooting it.
Exactly. I was trying to remember when you said that about Anne and Meryl Streep. I was like, where did I hear somebody say that recently? And that was the example I was trying to think of.
Yeah. So it's like if you're playing an asshole or someone weird or a serial killer, that would be weird for me. I don't know if I could like. Also, it's a basic question. Like, does it make you like a really good actor if you have to go to those places to like convey like the proper emotion that you want to convey on screen? Like, if you can't just naturally do that because like you don't have the ability to, does that make you not as good that you have to like really go to these real places when you're playing like certain roles?
That's a great conversation starter. And I've been meaning to have this conversation with you. Like I've mentioned off camera when we were talking John Wick 4, I got this little snippet about you and Owen mentioning method acting, and I bookmarked it for this conversation. And because like method acting, like I still remember when I was like a novel film lover, like kind of discovering what method acting was, and like over the years I've really cultivated an understanding of who like these very acclaimed method actors are, what goes into the process. It's not really always the same for everybody, but I've really come to appreciate method acting. I obviously it's not without its faults. It can definitely lead to a hostile environment depending on the nature of the role. But I look at roles that or performances that method acting has inspired. Like obviously Heath Ledger's Joker is one that people he's very notorious as being like the method acting performance. Also arguably one of, if not the greatest actor of all time, if not living today, Daniel Day-Lewis is the method actor, right?
The king of the method. That's people normally bring up.
That's what I'm saying. So like could you argue that like he's not a good actor because he has to go method, or like
that's a good question, man. He's a great actor, right? So like
he rivals Marlon Brando to me, man. Like he's the man.
Obviously is a method actor. Everyone who has worked with him says this is the case. You know what? I can't take that away from him. I mean, he's super good. I just can't imagine like doing Gangs in New York and he's like Bill the Butcher like the entire time like you're working with him.
Dude, I actually rewatched. I saw Gangs of New York again recently, like a couple months ago, and like at that time was just diving into the trivia of that movie, and like the lengths he would go to in that movie, man, were insane. Like he refused to go get treated for hypothermia, like because he would dress in like period appropriate attire and was like suffering from cold, and he's like, we didn't have this healthcare measures back in like the time that we were filming, so I'm not going to go to the hospital for this. And like nearly killed himself basically. But so I can see your point about like if you're not able to do it naturally, does it jeopardize like the the merit of your ability to act? But I look at it as like you are able to have such control over your mind and your actions to completely transform yourself into a different person. I find that remarkable and incredibly difficult. I couldn't even go up and like in front of a stage if I were in acting class or something. I know if you were to pluck me into something like that and to read a script and like convincingly convey myself as a different person, I would struggle to even do that, let alone to melt into a different person invented for a movie. I find it just remarkably impressive. So that's why I've come to appreciate it.
No, and I actually get your point. And I think actually there's certain times where it can really work, right? Because I remember when Bill Skarsgård was talking about doing it, and he purposely stayed away from the kids because, you need to really frighten them. And I love that, like, one of the first few times that all the kids see him in the movie, like, fully see him, that was the first time. That was the first time he really did show himself to them, like, in real life. So, like, and, like, their reactions to seeing him are very real because they didn't have any interactions with him. So I think that can work. that can work sometimes, and that is a form
That's
of
what I love
like,
about
method acting, though. I mean, that's like, you don't want to necessarily close with people you're trying to frighten, right? And you want it to be as real as you can be. In that case, I think it works. I'm going back to Jared Leto because when he did Morbius,
Sure.
apparently when he did Morbius,
Oh,
he actually walked around for real on like the little cane stuff, like slowly. Like he would do it like when they weren't shooting, he would do it on like to go to the bathroom. So like the cast and crew are like waiting for him to get back. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, it's already like, if you're on a movie set, it's already like a long day anyway. And to have this guy do that, I'd be like, dude, like, you can like use your real legs and your real speed to go to the bathroom, and like, you don't have to stay like that the entire time. And I can't even imagine what he was like while doing House of Gucci, because I know you liked him in it. That was, I can't imagine being around that all day either.
Like, neither. I would not. It would probably, if I were an actor on that movie, would probably take me out of my own performance, like talking to him like that in between takes and stuff. I'd be like, holy shit, man.
But it was funny though. I guess it worked for Lady Gaga because she liked working with him. I mean, like, I guess it depends on like. I mean, we all know now that Jared Leto and Brian Cox could never make a movie together, because he would probably like see his name on the list and be like, "Nah, I'm gonna pass."
Not even gonna take that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting too, but I mean, I guess you can't really like question someone's process. I mean, I guess if they need to do that in order to give you what we need as a viewer, like to really convey like real emotions and real, make us believe that you're the character, and like we have to forget that you're, we have to forget that you're Jared Leto. We have to forget that you're Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, like so I get it. I can see
that's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, but I can see why as an actor, if I wasn't like that,
yes,
I'd be like, especially, it's interesting too, because Kieran Culkin, he did an interview basically saying that like, he doesn't think he'll like keep in touch with a lot of the cast, because a lot of them like live all over the place. Like, as Sarah lives in like Australia, one of the other actors lives in England. Like, everyone's like kind of everywhere. But it was interesting though, because like we were on a successful show like that, and you're acting these intense kind of scenes and stuff together. Seemed like they were very close, but like the way they were talking about it, and I don't think it's like they have animosity towards each other. I think it's just like when you read interviews like that, you really get down to like, oh, this is kind of a business, it is a job. And then like, once that job is over, sometimes like that's where the relationships end.
Very much so.
And in the case of Brian Cox, he'll probably be happy to never, I don't want to say that, because he actually did, like I said, he complimented Jeremy Strong as being a good actor. He was like, you don't need to do that. And, but I love how candid he is about hating it. Because like
I think it's funny too.
Like I said, like Ryan Cox is at that age now where he's like yell at young kids to get off his lawn. That's what he kind of reminds me of now.
Totally, he doesn't have any shits left to give.
But like, but when you're like a veteran like him, you've been acting forever. I think you just like, he can say whatever he wants.
Yes, actually, I'm glad you just brought that back, because this brought me back to a point that I didn't mention earlier. I think it's an interesting, like Brian Cox, I don't know how many years older than he is than Jeremy Strong, but obviously multiple decades. He has the benefit of having acted for probably just as long, if not longer, than Jeremy Strong's been alive. So Jeremy Strong is definitely probably still figuring himself out as an actor, still developing. Right. Brian Cox has seen it all, done it all. He's been doing this for a long time. So he has that benefit of probably seeing more in Jeremy Strong than he might even see in himself, and is telling him, hey, this is annoying to me. You don't need to do this. But if that helps Jeremy where he is as an actor in his profession, then all the power to him if he feels like that's what he needs to do. I sympathize with him for that, but I get Brian Cox's perspective too. It's just an interesting dynamic. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting too, because my buddy Ryan was on General Hospital for 4 years, and like
cool.
And like one of the stories I kind of learned from him, and I've actually like have watched, the actor's name is Maurice Bernard. He's been on General Hospital forever, and he plays a mobster. He plays like Sonny Corinthos. My mom would be so proud of me right now because she loves General Hospital. Those 4 years that Ryan was on the show, that's like, she was always like, well, can he tell me anything? I'm like, no, he can't. But it's interesting because Maurice Bernard in real life is bipolar, and they actually wrote that in that his character would be bipolar, and it actually kind of softened the character up a bit, because he was, he came on the show like he's in a mob organization, like he's not a good guy, but they wanted to keep him around because he was a good actor, and if you want to keep like a villain around that long, you have to give them layers and make you care about them a bit, and that was like the thing that he threw in there. Now they actually, I guess, had him play that story, and he went method for it, and it got to the point where his wife actually told the writers and producers, like, he can't play this anymore like this. Like, He's
Okay.
he's getting too deep into it. It's actually affecting his like mental health for real because that's the kind of process he used to have. He was just he had to go there for real in order to play these kind of things. But
Yeah.
when you have when it's something serious like that, you end up bringing that home. Like that's definitely a game changer. Like I mean, apparently though he's changed his way of acting since he has this really cool like YouTube show called State of Mind where he actually interviews other celebrities about mental health and like all that kind of interesting stuff.
That's cool.
So like he turned around, he's like at this age I'm on a soap opera. I've been on the show forever. Like I don't need to like go to those places anymore to like kind of play this part because like at that point he's been on the show like 30 plus years. Like that part like the back of your hand probably.
Exactly.
But I thought it was interesting to hear that story that he like he thought he had to, especially when he was younger, that he had to like in order to play it like authentically. He thought he had to really go to these dark places, and knowing that he already kind of deals with that himself, that can be hard. I mean, the whole method thing. While you're playing, like if you're playing someone with like a mental illness or something like that, like, and you go method,
It has a toll.
I always wonder like whether or not you're a method actor. When I watch certain movies or TV shows, and there's like a highly emotional scene, I'm always like, when they call cut, I don't know how you shake it off. Like how some people are just like, all right, we're good. Like, like I used to love watching, like, I know this is like not the best example. Like when you watch like behind the scenes stuff for like horror movies, I think I actually did watch one. It was with Halloween Kills. And it's like the scene towards the end where Michael Myers is like shoving the kid's head through like the staircase and like, and then she's down and she's at the bottom like screaming for him to stop, right?
Yes.
So like it's like this serious like blood curdling scream, and she's like crying, and like her her boyfriend's like dying,
getting
and
demolished.
and they call cut, and they just like cracking up like as soon as it was over. And I was like, how do you go from like that heightened sense of like that's crazy to me?
Impressive, honestly. Because I don't know what I would be like as an actor. I have zero experience, but I can only imagine that I would have to take myself to a place where I'm at least taking it semi-seriously, where I can't just drop it at the drop of a hat. So like I kind of think it's impressive that for people to be able to just to flip a switch like that. But,
yeah.
I mean, people do get educated in the art of how to act. So like it makes sense to me that people, some more than others, would have a different ability to switch on and off. But it's still like from an outside perspective, you're right.
It's funny to watch. You're like, whoa, dude, like you're watching your friend get fake demolished on the staircase, and you're like, after it's over. Yeah,
you must be desensitized and stuff like that, like working on a set for that long and seeing all these, like on a horror movie set. I imagine like it must not have an effect on you after a while, I would imagine.
Well, late great Wes Craven, he said in an interview that horror movies are probably some of the most fun movies to make, because even though they are like this heightened sense of fear and all this other stuff, a lot of people are mostly just laughing when it's like done. Because like Nev Campbell talked about it too, like when they were doing like the first one and they're like all in that kitchen, like her, Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich are like covered in like fake blood and like all this stuff, all this shit, and then like they're like, they call cut and you're like, you do have to kind of laugh, like it's just like acting like big kids, like it's just like pretty like amazing and ridiculous. But like I can see it. I mean, I guess you would have to make a movie like, or any horror film, you have to make that funny, because like I mean it's already kind of like, all right, people are getting murdered, there's a lot of like a lot of dismemberment stuff going on, that you kind of have to just
some brevity in there.
And I guess that's like the same way for people when they go see them, because like that, you do experience that in the theater when you go watch a horror movie. Like you yourself are like, or you're laughing, or like are you get like laugh at yourself because you got scared. Like it's like, I guess it's kind of like cathartic in a sense.
Totally.
But yeah, to like, I don't know, like I don't think Viola Davis's method either. She always does like, she's, we used to joke around like, because she's a really great actress, but she is like the queen of the ugly cry, and like she can cry like on a drop of a hat. And I was like, I wonder how she turns it off. Like that's so crazy to me that like you can be that highly emotional and then like cut. I'm like, whoo.
That would be so taxing on you to your head to be able, especially people like her that consistently put out these like, very broad emotional performances. Like I don't know how I can't make myself cry in command, so I can only imagine to do it on the level that she does it, like that, to do it for multiple times a day during some scenes would be completely exhausting. So all the power to these method actors and people that can bring out in themselves something that the average person can't, because it's impressive. It's truly talent.
I agree. And to put a button on it, I like what you said, especially the comparison to Daniel Day-Lewis, and that's a really good example, because like the proof is in how good his performances are.
Right.
can understand it, and I can also understand why it'd be annoying. And
Yes.
on that note, I kind of want people to still do it around Brian Cox because I'm here for the content.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm here for more Brian Cox being like, "Oh, fuck off and just act." Like that's basically his like kind of like his demeanor about the whole thing.
Totally.
Yeah, but I think it's hilarious like on that end. But I can see if
100%.
you're, it's a lot of hours together too, and like if someone is like truly like off in the corner, like they don't really want to associate with the rest of the. I mean, that has to be a little daunting on like the cast that's supposed to be close.
Yeah,
especially on a show like Succession, because it's interesting because like I think those family dynamics on the show kind of play out in real life with them as actors. Like it's almost feels like there's like I mean probably mostly love, but it feels like there's like this love hate kind of thing that kind of goes on,
like any dysfunctional family, totally.
right? So like yeah, but at least we get good work out of it. I'm really hoping like from what I've heard from everyone that all the actors, even though they haven't seen all the episodes, of course they did them and filmed them. They said that they feel like it ends on a satisfying note. It's always with shows like this, it's all about how they stick the landing. There's been shows for me that have famously not stuck the landing. Dexter.
Yeah. Although I think it definitely got some points back with the new season.
Yeah.
That's just one of my favorite shows ever. But you're right. Upon my second viewing of that show, definitely turned sour like post season 4. Definitely.
Yeah.
But I still love Dexter as a character. One of my all-time favorites, man. That'd be a good conversation someday.
That'd be a good start. Yeah. So what's funny is that Owen does not like Dexter.
Really?
So, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, and I think he's one of the only few people I know that.
How much has he seen?
I think he's seen a good amount of it. I mean, for him to like, he doesn't really like. Well, I know he hated the sister character.
Deb, yeah.
Deb. No one likes Deb.
I love Deb. She's a handful. Don't get me wrong. I get it, but she's great.
Kudos to Jennifer. I mean, she plays her well. I mean, she's just very grating.
Very much,
grating on the nerves. But yeah, I think that's interesting because so many people love that show. I mean, all the people that love it all agree that like the ending was not great. No. But and that's what happens too when shows go on too long. I mean, I guess that's why it's good that like, I mean, I can't talk too much crap about it because I don't watch Grey's Anatomy. My mom still does. That show's. I mean, I think it just got renewed for like season 20. Good for everyone that's involved in that show. Good for all the
consistent work.
It's still like a popular. I know it kills it on Netflix still, like all the old episodes. It's a very lucrative show for ABC, so I get why it's like they keep it going. But like, I watched it up until like season 4, and I tapped out. And I tapped out. It wasn't like it was like especially bad or anything. It was just like other stuff, started coming out. And I'm still like, so is it good? And like, she's not even on the show anymore. I mean, she's gonna come back every now and then, Meredith Grey, I guess.
Right.
But like. They introduce like new interns, and I guess that's cool to like give them show like new life to see if it can go beyond like not having its main star on it every episode. But
right.
Man, I just feel like I feel like you gotta know when it's
definitely. Yeah, that show. It's funny. I had like a renaissance when I was in like late high school years. Like every girl I knew was watching it at that time, and their boyfriends were watching it with them. Although the show was still being made, it's hard to say it was a renaissance, but definitely like my generation was kind of coming around to it for a few years. It was very popular, but I can't imagine that there's any original cast members still on that show.
There's two left that were on the show like
from season 1
because Meredith just I guess Ellen Pompeo will pop in and out, but they really set her up to leave because she's actually doing Hulu like limited series too, and like and I think when she re-upped her contract, she knew that she was gonna try to be on the show less. I think they needed to. I feel like the internal discussions were like, all right, there has to be a way to keep it going without her, so we need to test those waters and see like. If people still stick around and watch it, like if she's not on it every episode. And I guess to our viewers, she still does the narration every episode, even though she's not there every episode. I still have friends that still watch it, love it. I will give it credit for this. I haven't watched a finale of that show in a while, but they used to do like epic season finales. Like they're like I wouldn't watch for like I stopped like season 4, I think, and I would not watch it consistently. But then like one of the finales would be on, I'm like, dude. I don't even know what's really going on right now, but like this single episode is amazing. Like they've had
all out.
So many crises. I don't know how so many things could happen.
How many doctors have died in that show?
and no one, I mean, Shonda Rhimes will kill you off on the show in a heartbeat. So there's like a lot of people who have famously left Grey's Anatomy. and not always like, allowed to like leave. Like they have to like make them leave in a very dramatic fashion. Katherine Heigl, she, back in the day, she had her feelings about Grey's Anatomy, and
Yeah.
Katherine Heigl used to be known for talking a lot about like certain projects, even though those projects made her like a star. Like I remember when Knocked Up came out, and she was hilarious in it, and Seth Rogen and her were hilarious together. But it was so disappointing to me to hear her say like, "Oh, that movie doesn't really like find women funny," and she just talked shit about it. I was like, "You were just in like the #1 movie in America, and now you're gonna talk smack
Weird
about it."
Yeah.
And by the way, the girls in Knocked Up are hilarious. Leslie Mann is hilarious in Knocked Up, so it's like it's a really mute point. It doesn't make sense.
And yeah, weird. I haven't seen Knocked Up, so I have no like.
It's hilarious. I think you would like it, man. It's so funny.
I can imagine it being one of those comedies I would enjoy. Maybe I'll bookmark that sometime. But I can say that, like, just like from an outsider's perspective, hearing you talk about her, I can appreciate her candidness speaking about it. Like, I find it's kind of like, not that I watch a whole lot of this, but you can tell sometimes when an actor's not really believing what they're saying about their movie, and they're just, saying what they have to say to promote it.
Oh, this was so good.
It's kind of, yeah, exactly. It's kind of transparent, but so I can like appreciate that she's just, speaking her mind, but
yeah,
I can also think that's kind of weird. I'd have to like kind of see it to have an opinion, but
she was Brie Larson before Brie Larson.
Okay.
Like, where people, I mean, I actually like Brie Larson, but there's
that's
like,
right.
There's like,
co-stars though, or like,
there's certain people that, I mean, she likes to speak her mind, and I respect that.
Sure.
But yeah, I think Brie Larson might have, at least she's still getting work, and Katherine Heigl's still working, but there was a point where like, I think she just had a reputation for like being difficult, and it did affect her career for a bit. Like she kind of wasn't in, and she was one of those people too that like started on TV, and then she does a movie, and then she's like, "Oh, I just want to do movies," and like that when I think back in the day when she was on Grey's Anatomy, I think this has totally changed now, where people are like, TV is not the like lower end landscape that it used to be.
Right.
But like back when she was on Grey's Anatomy, I think a lot of people like do a movie on their hiatus, and they are like, all right, the movie was successful, and they're like, all right, now I want to do movies full time. I don't want to be on the show anymore.
Right.
And during that period, a lot of actors were like that. I don't think that's the same anymore, especially since so many shows are like limited series now. They don't take up a lot of the actors' time. You even have people who were movie stars that are actually like actively like doing cable series. That you have like Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman like doing Big Little Lies, and like it's like, it's not the way, like they used to joke that like at the Golden Globes, like they would sit all the TV people like far in the back, and then all the movie stars in the front, because they're like,
interesting.
They're like, be happy you were invited to the party. Like, and like
the tables are turned now though.
Yeah, but now it's like, and I think that kind of started with, I think Kiefer Sutherland doing 24 was like one of the big ones, where it's like, all right, this guy who used to do movies is doing this like really cool TV show, and then like a lot of other actors started kind of like hopping on that, and then you find like there's certain actors that started in TV and then went to movies, and then they come back and do TV again. So it's really interesting. I'm glad that has changed though, because the quality of like series now it's so high, like it's so good.
Absolutely. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, and I think rivaling like movies in some sense, like sometimes, like
in
a lot of ways. So, but yeah, I love that. I love the progression of the conversation, because it was we needed to like kind of get through, like watch this session, and that turned into the conversation about method acting. And
method acting, that was a great segue.
Yeah, we hit the buttons for that one, but yeah, I wish I had time to watch.
Not how I thought it was going to come up, but I'm glad.
Yeah, and I got to do this to you again, because I keep doing this to you. I also watched the movie that we're going to deep dive.
Okay, that's on me too. I always forget to ask as well. So, we'll keep that one under wraps.
Yeah, but it was a fun. Well, not fun. It's a heavy movie. It was a good rewatch, though. I really enjoyed the movie.
I'm excited to find out.
So, yeah, you will find out on Friday with everyone else, I guess. All right. So, what else we got? Let me throw something at me.
Dude, we got a few trailers we got to break down through here. Speaking of shows, I guess it'd be a good segue to get into the Secret Invasion trailer came out. Just saw that minutes before we started recording, and I gotta say, tough as I am on Marvel, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna hold my breath for it. I don't know that I'll get around to seeing it, but I was impressed with the trailer, especially the tone the trailer took. I was like, I would sign on board for that. That looked like it's a good direction for that Marvel property. So what were your thoughts on that trailer?
That was, to me, we talked about it a little bit offline, but that was the first thing that kind of grabbed me. I noticed right away that it felt very different in tone from like a lot of stuff that Marvel does. I mean, like I mean, I hate to, I mean, there's a big thing. I guess I actually heard some actors when they talk about like Marvel, how it feels like it's geared more towards kids rather than like adults and stuff like that.
Right.
This felt like it's geared towards adults. It really feels like a very like adult kind of like thriller, like espionage thing. Like it really has like, it seems like it has like a lot of layers. And then I think also having like a pretty stacked, talented cast in this.
That's what I was.
I mean, of course you got Samuel L. Jackson, but then you have and then of course you have Ben Mendelsohn, who's already been involved with the MCU. But then you have like Olivia Colman now.
That's
Amelia, a huge one. Emilia Clarke, also another huge one.
The mother of dragons herself, dude.
I know. Throwing in Don Cheadle for good measure and Colby Smulders, because like I love that they use like these kind of like smaller characters that have kind of introduced like in the Avengers, and they've carried them on to like pop up in these other like even if it's not even the biggest thing, but like I think that's kind of cool. Like they still connect them in that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was impressed by the tone. I was impressed by like, I mean, it gives something like that a little credibility when you have like Oscar winner Olivia Colman. I mean, it kind of like takes it up a notch a bit.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited. I think it's gonna be good.
Do we know if it's limited series?
I think right now it's being told
I hope so.
Limited series.
Seems like to be the best property that it would service that story the best, I think.
Yeah.
Immediate property, but yeah.
But yeah, I was all for it. I thought it looked good. And I've talked with Owen about this a lot too with Marvel, how like we've kind of wished the shows were a little bit more self-contained, where you don't feel like you have to like, do I have to watch this in order to find out what happens in like the next movie? Like, will I be completely lost if I don't watch it? And that's a little frustrating, but like, but I was impressed by the tone of it. Like I think it looks like it's going to be really good. It looks like there's going to be a lot of action, which is great.
Yep.
It's also, what I'm struck by too, Samuel L. Jackson, he's played this part for a long time now, but he even seemed like he was like, not that I'm saying that he sleepwalks through his roles, but he seemed more like invested. Like it seemed like a different tone to his character as well, which was like, that intrigued me a bit too. So
definitely more like world weary, gritty, gruff kind of look to him and his line delivery. Yeah, he's been playing this role for like 15 years probably now.
And it's great too. Yeah, it started with I think was there an end credit scene? I think it might have been there where it started with him, and it's interesting too.
The end credits, yeah.
I think what's interesting too, because I keep bringing up Icons on Earth, but they are doing Marvel right now, and it's funny because he eventually signed a very big like multi-picture deal, but I guess when they were doing like, because they were filming Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk, and then they were doing Thor. Once they got to Thor, they were like, okay, well, we can kind of use him in like a little extra scene to like steadily build up to the Avengers. And they told one of the writers, like, not so fast. He hasn't fully signed his deal yet. So like, there was no, like, he wasn't like totally even set by the time they were doing Thor. Okay. And also interesting too, that like Jeremy Renner had been cast as Hawkeye while they were filming Thor. He has his first introduction in the MCU is like that one like cameo scene where like Chris Hemsworth Thor is trying to like lift the hammer and he can't, and then Hawkeye has like his bow and arrow out and like, do you want me to take the shot? That was it. And he filmed that like months after they were done like shooting, because he got cast. Okay. He got cast for the Avengers, and they're like, all right, so we have to like throw you into Thor real quick, so people aren't completely lost when they see you. But yeah, I think that was interesting that eventually, Samuel L. Jackson did sign a very lucrative deal to be with him. And I think it's cool now. I even felt this way with like Scarlett Johansson, like when they finally gave her Black Widow. Like if you've been there that long, like to kind of have your own moment to like shine is like good. And I think it's cool that even though he's been in a lot of these and hasn't had like incredibly small parts in like all of them, but like this is like his moment to kind of like really push that character forward a bit. Yeah. I think that's cool that he finally gets his chance to do so. So
I'm hoping that the showrunners don't miss or sleep on this opportunity to throw in some homages to Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's what I'd like to see in that movie.
That would actually be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I want.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
I will accept those Easter eggs for sure.
Yeah. I'm hoping they capitalize on that, because it's the nature of the plot. Like that fits too well, too similar.
Right. I agree. I guess keeping it on the comic book train, they released the trailer for Blue Beetle.
Other side of the spectrum here.
Other side.
DC, yeah.
Just jumping over to DC. You know what I will say?
I'll let you start off with this one.
I actually think it looks good. I think because I don't know anything about that character at all. It's I
Does
other than like
anything.
other than what I read while like when I remember when I had to post the trailer today and I was like everything I read like from like the email that was sent to me was like I was learning it for the first time. I was like I don't know anything about that character at
Right.
all, but looks fun. I think it's cool. Like goes without saying to have like a Latino lead in this kind of in this position to kind of lead a big
Yeah.
could be a big property if they market it right. And then so far from the trailer, it looks like they it seems more
Yeah.
fun than like the other DC stuff. And I know for some
Definitely.
DC fans, what they like about DC is that it's not as like fun as Marvel necessarily. It's more like it could be a bit more
And I like that about
serious.
DC,
Yeah,
but some brevity goes a long way. And I Blue Beetle will be the opportunity. You know what? I got not necessarily like it was completely evocative of this character, but I got that Blue Beetle will bring kind of like what Tom Holland's Spider-Man will to DC. Not that like Marvel is obviously a lot more lighthearted than the
right.
DCEU, but
Yeah,
I feel like he will bring a similar dynamic to a darker sort of universe. So I think that will be a welcome change. Kind of like more so than the Flash. Like he does
yeah.
bring a little bit of a comedic element, but I don't think that it's like really been capitalized on. But I think Blue Beetle is a great opportunity. Not that it's going to go very far, but could be a nice little
Yeah.
toss up.
You know
Yeah.
what? I'm gonna call it now.
Oh,
I call this making more money than Shazam, Fury of the Gods. At least there's that.
oh, okay.
And
That's not what I was
I don't
going to
think
say.
and I don't think they probably thought that. However, I do think it shows good faith that this was going to be an HBO Max release originally, and then they changed it to a theatrical one. Maybe because they saw great stuff while they were shooting it. I mean, that
Yeah,
gives me it makes me feel like a little bit better. Like, oh, like, if they think this is good enough to like. I mean, of course, it's in August. I mean, that's like towards the end of the summer, but still,
yeah.
you know,
Still
it's
a good time.
still a good slot for it. And you know,
Yeah, I think so.
if it can actually appeal, it seems like it is being made to appeal to like a younger demographic a bit. But that probably is nice to see though, because I don't think DC has really, like we said, done that lately. And with this character, you probably can't do like serious. So I guess this is like the perfect.
Yeah,
I think it's like the perfect way for them to kind of like show a different side of themselves too. And
totally.
yeah. And yeah, it's also refreshing to kind of, I think what I enjoyed about the trailer and what I think will be good about the movie, like I said, like having no real connection to it, like it'll be fun to like discover that. Yeah, because we all know Batman, we all know the Flash, we all know Superman. It'll be
Yes.
interesting to see how they handle introducing a character that, unless you're a comic book fan or a DC fan, that you know absolutely nothing about.
Right. Prior to this, if you had told me like that Blue Beetle was a comic book character, I would have thrown it in like the realm of like independent comics like Spawn. Like I wouldn't have
Right,
thought it was
right,
attached to any major comic book property or title. So I was like,
right.
damn, it's kind of cool that they're kind of giving the limelight to a comic book character like that. But I was pleasantly surprised with that trailer. Like again, like I never would have really given it my 2 cents. If we weren't talking about it, I don't know that I would have went out of my way to see the trailer,
Yeah,
watched it, and I was like, damn, like that looks like something I would probably go out of my way to see. Like it looked,
yeah,
there was, granted, I mean, I'm not going to hold my breath too much. Like there's definitely, I felt like there was little glimpses in the trailer that it's going to go down a road like many other comic book movies do. It seems like it's going to have a big CGI heavy battle at the end, a
yeah,
big defeated villain probably, but the stuff that leads you there, I thought like
yeah.
was honestly like without running into like the danger of being too lighthearted and comedic, there was like great balance of humor, not over the top. I like the idea of like just a nobody sort of character coming across this power that he doesn't know what to do with, and the
Yeah.
universe kind of like selecting him to be this person to bear this
The
brunt.
Bears, but yeah,
Exactly. Like there's just a lot in it that I actually was pleasantly surprised by. So yeah, I was much better than I would have given it credit for till I saw some footage. So
yep. I
happy
fully
to see
agree.
that trailer.
And just so everyone knows, it comes out on August 18th. I
Right.
should probably update people on Secret Invasion as well. I'm gonna pull that up
Right.
right now about when that comes out, in case you guys are wanting to see it. It drops on Disney Plus on June 21st.
Nice.
So all this stuff is coming like very, very soon. I know we got more trailers. Which one do you want to hit next?
Definitely wanted to get into Extraction too,
Yeah.
which I
Are you a fan of the first one?
very much so.
Yeah.
And I went into it like hesitant, like it was, well, you know what? I shouldn't say that. Like it was the first Russo's production, or like one of the first ones after they departed from the MCU. They didn't direct, but they were executive producers. Thought they handled some of the best, well-helmed movies of the MCU.
Yeah.
Hard as I am on that universe, like they definitely, their movies are my favorite in those. So I had a lot of faith going in Extraction, and it exceeded my expectations. Thought Chris Hemsworth was awesome in that role. What I was nervous about for Extraction 2 is, like, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen Extraction, it's like 3 years old now, but I think Extraction would have been a great one-off, especially considering how it ends. He's like virtually dead. Like, I don't know how you come back from that. So when the second one was announced shortly after, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. Are they just gonna, sacrifice the artistic integrity for money? Probably. But that being said, what I saw in that 2-minute long teaser trailer, I don't know who they're kidding by saying that. I was blown away. Thought the action sequence looked awesome, man.
Yeah.
Very much on board for that. What do you think?
I think, what's funny? Because we've talked about like the Netflix stuff before, like, with their movies, because they usually crank out like quantity over quality. And there's always a question of like the longevity of like the Netflix movie. Like, for a lot of them, when I watch them, like, they're good in the moment, and then I forget about them by the end of the week. Totally. I think Extraction had the benefit of that movie launched like when we were like in the heart of the pandemic, basically. So I think that kind of helped my overall like feelings about it. It was like, all right, I need something fun. I need a little bit of distraction, and it was like the perfect movie for that. It plays to like Chris Hemsworth's strengths as well. Big time. And it's just a really well done action movie. It has some really fun set pieces as well. I, like you, was leery when they announced a sequel because, like, no spoiler alert, we all know how it ended, or how I was like, how are they going to do that? But I'm also all in. I mean, I had so much fun with the first one that I'm totally down with whatever they cook up for this one. But yeah, it is interesting though. Like, that first movie, every time I run across it, it does really remind me of like, oh, we have nothing to do. What can we do? Okay, we can only watch like, what did Netflix put out this week? Yeah. And so it puts you back in that kind of headspace. Like, I remember writing about that movie a lot because I was. Oh yeah. I mean, it was, there was so much streaming stuff going on because the theaters were closed, and Extraction did really well when it premiered on Netflix, and it was like one of those things that I think more so than most of their Netflix movies, I think that one kind of had a bit of longevity where people brought it up again or talked about it again. It wasn't one of those that was like, I watch it Monday and by Friday I'm like, You're right. I think most of my friends actually did discuss it. I brought it up a bit after watching people
on that movie too.
I ended up watching it twice, pretty close together. So I was like, that must be pretty good, good enough.
I think I ended up seeing it 3 times, and I know for sure I saw it twice. Like, a couple months later, I was like, man, I just want to see that again. Like, the action was just so well choreographed. I was like, it's just so awesome to look at. But I do think I got a watch of it in last year again, just because I was feeling like something juicy, and man, it just hits. It was so much better than I would have given it credit for. And the extended like prison sequence in this teaser was just phenomenal to watch.
Yeah. Definitely got me back in. So I'm excited. I'm all for that Netflix.
Yeah, I know. I messaged you. I was like, yeah, time to get a Netflix account again. Wait, I will be getting one to watch that, even if it's just for a month.
I forgot to tell you that clip or snippet I used of you talking about that played really well on Twitter. There are a few people that thought that was like so funny. Because they were like going through the same thing right now where about like that not having their Netflix account because of, them cracking down on sharing passwords and you not being like at the primary location and stuff.
Yeah, that was annoying.
But I think it took effect. I think Extraction 2 will make you bite the bullet and get your own.
Exactly. Like, that's probably how I'm going to approach Netflix and like Disney Plus. Probably not Disney Plus, but Netflix for sure. I have a few other, like, I have Crave. Me and my roommate have Crave. I had Disney Plus briefly. What else do I got? With Crave, I got HBO Max. So I have like and Amazon. That's Amazon Prime. But Netflix will be like one of those ones I go back to when they release an original that I really want to see. And then probably for the month I have it, I'll probably rewatch some of their other good originals. Like, I'm already craving a rewatch of The Pale Blue Eye. So I might get that in around the time that Extraction 2 drops, which is like mid-June, I think. Do you have a date for
June? Sure? June 16th. It's the same day that The Flash opens.
Shit. So for my birthday, I might treat myself to that.
So pick your poison, guys. You can do both. You can watch it and go see The Flash. But it's really, all this stuff is coming up sooner than I realized. Like, before you know it, we'll be like podcasting like the big summer releases, and that's gonna be that's a fun time on the podcast. It's a really like, there's so much stuff. I feel like you got like a taste of it. You got a taste of it in March because March was a really like packed month for movies. But it's cool too because like it feels like movies are actually back, so they're scheduling like all these big movies. Like once April May hits, it's like you feel like you're just getting like back to back to back to back big blockbuster movies. So it's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun.
I'm excited.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and April, honestly, we got a lot of great releases this month too that I'm really looking forward to, like Evil Dead Rise, Beau was Afraid, and I know there's gonna be a couple others that I'm forgetting too, but very
the
much
Super Mario Brothers movie.
Nah.
You're like, no.
I don't know what are people saying about that movie.
I mean, so far the early word's pretty. It looks like should be like pretty pleasing to fans of like the games and stuff. I mean, it looks like visually it looks great. When it comes to kids movies, man, like I either got to go like really late, so there's not a lot of children, because like seeing kids movies is tough sometimes.
Very much so.
I think the last thing I saw like on a crowded like opening day was when we saw Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and I saw it with my brother. I think it was like a 12 p.m. showing, and I was seated. There was a kid next to me that was asking his mom all types of questions about what was going on the screen, and I was like trying to understand, like, this kid's like 5. But he was just like a lot of that.
Jesus.
Why did he do that? What's going on? I was like, oh no. In front of me were all loud, and like I felt like an old grudging.
That would take me out of it too. No, but I mean, you gotta let them have their fun too. It's definitely
I felt like Brian Cox. Like, everyone shut the fuck up.
No, I can relate for sure. Moving on, I think the last one we wanted to cover too was Wes Anderson's movie Asteroid City finally had a trailer drop.
Yep.
Did you get a chance to see that one?
I did get the chance to see it. It's a very stacked Caucasian cast, except for Jeffrey Wright.
You know what? Honestly, admittedly, I did not even consider that until that. You are totally right. Holy shit.
You know what, though? To his credit, a lot of those are his like regulars. A lot of them are people he works with a lot. That was when
he brought in a lot of newcomers though that are all Caucasian though.
Yeah, like
Hong Chau's in it too though. But
yeah, my buddy sent me the trailer because he saw I posted it. He shared it with me he sent me a message on G Reels, and he was like, so I can't take credit for that joke, but he was like, I've never seen a more Caucasian movie in our life. And then he's like, I'm scrolling, and I was like, oh, there's Jeffrey Wright. We got some color right there. But to Wes Anderson's credit too, he makes some fantastic movies, and I'm not gonna they're very, and you know what I love about him, and that's what I loved about this trailer too. Every Wes Anderson movie is very uniquely him. Like, that you're seeing a Wes Anderson movie when you see one, even when you get a trailer for a Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah, you only need a single frame to know that you're watching Wes Anderson. He's one of the few directors that you can actually do. You just need one frame, and he's one of the few that.
If you see a Tilda Swinton or Edward Norton or a Jason Schwartzman, you know that you're watching.
You're working with Wes. Yeah,
I do like interesting some new, like Margot Robbie is probably, I think, a first time for. Yeah, she probably, with our luck, she's probably only in the movie for like 2 seconds.
Exactly. Many of these people will be in small roles, no doubt. But he has accumulated a very impressive cast. Just for the sake of it, for those listening, I wanted to go through at least the top cast on IMDb. Start off with Jason Schwartzman, who's definitely a longtime Wes Anderson collaborator. Yep. Tom Hanks in this one, I think, is the first time with him. Tilda Swinton, Bryan Cranston, who we were just talking about. We've got Edward Norton, another Wes Anderson collaborator. Adrian Brody, been in a few of his. Hope Davis, I don't recognize. Do you know her from some other stuff? She looks familiar, but I can't.
You know what's crazy is that she's in the movie that we're deep diving.
Oh, cool!
She has a relatively small role in it, but I didn't know that I'd be hearing about Hope Davis this much today.
No,
I was very interested. Yeah.
That's awesome. Rupert Friend is a name I recognize only from this movie Startup. Maybe something else, but I know he's in
a Simple Favor as well.
Okay,
it's so random that I know that, but yeah, because love that movie. I love that movie and all its Blake Lively and the Kendrick Glory. He has like a small part in that. I'm sure he's been in other stuff that no one else can like name. That's why I know him from that.
I'm a little ignorant to his work, but I really liked him in Startup. That was great. Ethan Hawke, and is it Uma Thurman's daughter? Awesome. She's great from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Steve Carell joining the cast is awesome. My favorite psycho ever, Matt Dillon, is in this movie, who I don't think worked. And we'll talk about him.
Like I've been talking about him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my god, I love that guy so much. Hong Chow, Willem Dafoe, Margot Robbie, Scarlett Johansson, Jeff Goldblum. Like this cast is absolutely off the wall. It'll probably join Oppenheimer with like the biggest stacked cast movie of 2023.
Yeah. I think everyone that works with Wes Anderson too, I imagine
love it.
I think they love it. I think they're cool with taking probably a little bit of a pay cut because I don't these movies don't have like huge budgets probably.
Nope.
And I think it's just the joy of working with him. And I think that's when you have a filmmaker like that, where like you can tell like the people like they just enjoy his process, his work, you know, how he is as a director. And you can actually get like these repeat people that, you know, they're like, hey, I'm down to do whatever. Even if it might just be like a day of work for some of them, but they're like down to like do whatever he's doing. And like
I would work with him for free, so put it that way. I would pay. Yeah.
I know we were joking about like, you know, Margot Robbie probably only being in it for like a minute, but like I think even if like you do have a moment like that, you want to still work with him. Like, all right, I can.
Oh yeah.
5 minutes. You know, it's funny using her as a good example. I remember when she was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and the marketing did use her a lot, but she is certainly not in the movie.
She takes a back seat to Leo and Brad, definitely.
And you know, and I know when that movie came out, it was one of my favorite Quentin Tarantino moments. There was like female reporter that kind of attacked her with the question of like, you know, like you're the only female presence really in this, like that has a significant role, but you don't really get to say or do much. Do you think that's kind of demeaning basically as like a woman? And then Quentin Tarantino was just like, that's erroneous, and like kind of went off about like like how like she didn't know what she was talking about. Yeah. And I actually kind of agree with that, because even though she's not in the movie a ton, she's on the peripheral of it, and she's important to the movie though. Like you have to like you have to like really, I mean, if you don't already know the true story about Sharon Tate and stuff, you have to like want to, like once you do learn it, you have to care about like, oh wow, what's going to happen to this girl if they follow history. And of course they didn't, but right. But Margot Robbie did a good job of making you care about her without doing much, and I think that says a lot about her talent. And like, you know, one of my favorite scenes of that movie is when she goes to the theater to watch herself in her movie, and it's not even saying anything. She says like so much with her face, like with her, like her react, like it's almost like this like childlike innocence a bit. That,
exactly. Like, when she's looking around the theater, like
it's like one of my favorite scenes in the movie too. And,
definitely.
And like you can do a lot with very little, I think, when you're a really good actor.
Yes, there are also that supporting cast definitely has a lot of females in it. The more I think about it, you got, I can't remember the actress
Dakota Fanning.
Dakota Fanning is a great
Amber, the girl that was in Scream.
Amber, yes,
she was in it. And here's why the whole like Quentin Tarantino like demeaning female thing doesn't quite work for me, because if you go back and look at most of his movies, there are a lot of strong female leads. I mean, Jackie Brown, Death Proof, all the girls are kicking it. I mean, he specifically wanted to do Death Proof because Zoe Bell was like, you know, that woman. She doubled for Uma Thurman, Kill Bill. She's like a very famous stunt woman. He wanted to give her a showcase to like show what she can really do, and like give her a part. And he did. And you know, so yeah, you look at Jackie Brown, you look at Kill Bill, you look at Death Proof, like he has given, you know, Pam Grier hadn't worked in a lot of stuff by the time she did Jackie Brown. And he, you know, had this really fun part for her, and like that rejuvenated her career. Like you're in I mean, and I know for some people that's like a lesser Quentin Tarantino movie. I love it, but it's like so awesome. but even lesser Quentin Tarantino is like better than most people's most. So
exactly.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. But yeah, you know
what, you're right. That reporter did not know what the hell she was talking about.
I just love
you can say that about it.
I just love him flipping out. Like, oh Jesus.
I would be like, I can imagine him being actually offended. Like, have you not seen my work?
I wouldn't want to like yelled at by Quentin Tarantino.
No. And the thing is, like, he can do it too. He can give it because he's earned it, because you know he's the man.
Yep. And everyone, if you want to see Asteroid City, it's a pretty stacked month in June. It comes out June 23rd.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
So we potentially are going to the movies a lot in the month of June. It's gonna be just March, man. Just like March. Yeah, but some good ones though. I mean, like, and like different fun stuff coming out. Like I'm not going to talk about the trailer at all. They also dropped the trailer today for Fatal Attraction. They're doing like a limited series based on the movie.
Someone has a dual role in that, right? Is it Rachel Weisz?
No, it's a different show. I forgot. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, David Cronenberg. Yeah. Sorry.
Fatal Attraction, of course, is based on like very popular movie from the late 80s with Glenn Close and Michael Douglas. I don't know how men weren't absolutely terrified to cheat on their wives after watching it, because
I know what you're talking about now.
It really takes that whole like you can meet a crazy and not know you met a crazy. But it's such a like my mom always talks about it because she loves that movie, but she's like, God, it's so of its time. It's so 80s. And she's like, it's so wonderfully 80s though. And like I'm intrigued what they could do with it as a limited series. I mean, Joshua Jackson's in it. Lizzie Kaplan is playing the Glenn Close part.
Okay.
Amanda Peet's playing the wife. You know, it looks interesting. I think it could work as a limited show, but that's also one of the things too. Like it's only happening because the IP is pretty. Fatal Attraction was a huge. I mean, shouldn't have been as big of a hit as it was. I mean, I think it was made to be a crowd pleaser, but then it ended up getting like nominated for like Oscars. It got nominated for Best Picture. Glenn Close was nominated for Best Actress, and I forget the actress who plays his wife, but she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. It became like this much bigger like deal when it came out in the 80s. It's not like it needed an update, but
but maybe they'll do something different with it. Out. But Cam has brought that over many times. Like he'll usually bring over a lot of options and we'll cycle through and pick something. And that's one that he's definitely brought over a few times. And I've never locked in on it, but definitely one that I have to see. I love Michael Douglas too. I haven't seen a lot of Glenn Close's work.
By the way, he did Fatal Attraction the same year that Wall Street came out. He had a really good year.
Wow.
And of course, he won an Oscar playing Horn Gecko, very popular character in movies. But it was a very, very good year for Michael Douglas. Both hits too.
89 then or 9? I thought Wall Street was 90.
I think it's like 80. I don't know. Okay. I'm gonna look it up just in case.
I guess we do have the internet at our disposal. Look this stuff up. I always thought Wall Street was
87. Actually, 87.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was a really good year for him. And by the way, if you ever do watch it, just know that it starts off as a well-balanced psychological thriller about someone who is completely unhinged when she has this like affair with this dude. And then the last 15, 20 minutes look like the director watched like Friday the 13th and just went balls to the wall. It just turns like almost becomes like a slasher. And the ending got changed a lot, I guess, because Adrian Lane directed Fatal Attraction. I think some woman heard him because he also directed Fatal Attraction. He directed Indecent Proposal, which is about another affair. He directed Unfaithful. So like who hurt you?
Somebody.
The last 15, 20 minutes. I mean, I still like the movie, but I was like, it seems like they were like two different people directed this.
Okay.
When at the end, it was like, all right, we gotta, there's gotta be some slashing. We need some knives. Yeah. And Close has to go absolutely batshit crazy. Yeah. But I still think it was pretty decent. The acting is phenomenal. Like Glenn Close is scary good. Like, I mean, like I said, I don't know how anyone could cheat on someone after watching that movie. Like that is like the exact, like that could happen. Like,
totally
not worth it.
Maybe I will try and schedule that one soon because like you can't go wrong. Who did they did it again?
So Adrian Lane directed it.
The
movie. And actually, the cast for the limited series is pretty. I mean, I love that Joshua Jackson still gets work. Like Pacey, Dawson's Creek all day. And he's been working consistently. Like Fringe is like one of my favorite shows, and he was on that as well. I like seeing people like that get work, and and I just hope that it doesn't feel like something that needed a redo. But they are trying to say that they're trying to make it a little bit more contemporary as far as like how the character that Glenn Close portrayed is depicted in this. I mean, I guess how she's treated in 1987 could be a bit dated, and kind of updating from a woman's perspective in 2023. I can see the appeal, I guess, in that, and not just playing her writing her completely one note. Like Glenn Close has said that she had to there wasn't a lot on the page when she did Fatal Attraction. It was just like she had to come up with like a lot of the stuff about why her character was doing this kind of stuff, and I think that's why the performance is so good, because she probably was like, all right, I got to figure out like, why is she crazy? Why was she get invested in a relationship like this? What makes her tick? And like she did that on her own. I think that's
awesome.
Now, is that more method acting? I don't know.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, very well could be. If not, at least somebody that puts a lot of effort into their character when they don't have a lot to work with, which you can respect, right?
I'm callbacks in this episode.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of another one, to the show that I confused with the Rachel Weisz dual performance was Dead Ringers, which is a reimagining of David Cronenberg film. which I have not seen, and I've seen lots of Crony. I love him to death. Canadian filmmaker, got to shout him out.
Boom, boom.
Love that guy, and his son too has done a lot of great work. But no, that one is on my schedule too. Dead Ringers, love me some Crony.
Oh, we got so much to watch.
Yes, we did, man. There's too many. I'm pretty sure there's a podcast out there called Too Many Movies, and I'm like, that is the best name for a podcast.
Yeah, that is really good. That's pretty good.
True,
because it's very true, and we mean that in the best way though.
Exactly. It is.
There's just a ton of content out there, and usually released close to each other. So like your wallet can't even breathe until something else comes out.
No.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
You know what? Too. Only because we brought it up the last episode. There are some minor developments in the Jonathan Majors stuff.
Let's hit on that. What have you heard?
I hate to go all TMZ again, guys. So his lawyer released these text messages that basically the lawyer, she says, like, kind of proves that like he was like kind of a victim of assault, like he didn't start any of this, whatever, right? And I'm not gonna read the text verbatim, just like the gist of it is they read like someone who is sending someone something because they don't want to get them in trouble. Like there's one part in the text where she says, like, I told the police or whatever, I told them that basically what happened is because I took your phone. That sounds like an excuse of like, I did something to piss you off. And it doesn't really read as like, when I read it, I was like, that doesn't make you look great. So I hope that video footage that you say proves that you didn't attack her is a lot better than these texts, which kind of read like, it's like the basic, like if you were talking to a woman who was like in a relationship where there is like abuse, it sounds like someone that is giving excuses for why these things happen. And it doesn't. And that is, I was like, it's not I mean, most people on social media were like, that didn't help you.
Wonder, I mean, his lawyer obviously would have assumed that it wouldn't be received that way, but in hindsight, I guess not the correct, like the best strategy, perhaps releasing that. Apparently that video is going to be quite damning. Also, I think another development is the victim, who I think is his girlfriend, right? If I'm not mistaken. Apparently she's recounted her statement to the police.
She did.
Recanted, sorry, not recounted.
And those text messages talk about that too. I'm telling them everything, like almost like this is all my fault. I'm telling them everything, like, right. But I mean,
there's context to that definitely doesn't paint the full picture. Video will be king, I think. Like that would be all end all in terms of his innocence.
By the way, Creed 3 came out on video on demand on Friday too. The timing is, that's crazy. That just it's on video on demand already, and I like just saw it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah,
really quick turnaround.
Yeah, so I wanted to give a quick update because we talked about it last week. How we don't want to get too gossip website on you guys, but I think that's one story, as it develops, we have to. No, dude, if you would have been on here when the whole Will Smith, Chris Rock thing, like we had to talk about that. It was like almost every week, and I think at a certain point, Owen was like, "There's no more to say." Like it was like it's getting like that horse was beaten to death. Yeah,
and that was all anyone talked about for months.
It got to the point where I was like, "All right, do we even want to?" I know like we should cover it because it keeps developing, but I don't think we should cover it anymore.
No, I agree. Like holy shit, I've had that conversation so many times. I've flip flopped so many times on it. Like yeah. Anyway, definitely a moment to remember.
Yeah, but hopefully, for his case, that video better be really good.
Yeah.
Because, like, those texts, like, if you have time to read them later, like, you'll be like,
send them my way if you have them, because I heard they were released, but I didn't read them.
Like, that's not really, it almost sounds like you talked to her and you're trying to convince her to, like, say what needs to be said to, like,
Which is why, I think she could have proverbial gun to her head, at that point. We don't know what he's saying to get her to, and this is going down a rabbit hole, maybe, who knows, but all in all, best case scenario, hopefully it didn't go down that way. She's okay, and he's not a woman assaulter. So, but time will tell. Definitely interesting to keep definitely interesting case to keep an eye on and see how develops go, because no matter what, it's definitely still probably throwing a wrench in Marvel's plans. I'm sure they're waiting with bated breath.
They got a lot going right
now. Actually, segue is another thing to cover, man. Oh my god, you'll probably have a lot more insight onto their recent shakeups than I would have. There's a couple names, like a couple Disney Marvel execs that have gone out the door here recently that I don't really know a whole lot about their involvement or like the implications that their firings will have. But why don't you lead us into a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes with those people?
Well, the most recent one, I think his name is Ike Perlmutter. I think I got that right.
Yeah, that's right.
City spokesperson confirmed to Deadline that he is out of the company. He oversaw the consumer products division of Marvel and isn't part of the Kevin Feige-led Marvel Studios. However, it's funny though, because I'm actually, like I said, watching that Icons on Earth, and he gets talked about a lot on these episodes. I never heard I had never heard this guy's name until I started watching this, and then now this is going on. He was like famously, I guess, what they talked about, how like he's more of like a behind the scenes dude. No one really, they actually joked about how there's not a lot of pictures of him. They always use like the same picture. They use the same picture every time he gets brought up on the show, because they're like, but he, Marvel was always about like, while they're cranking out these movies, he was the main one of those people that was like, all right, but there's like things to be sold. Like, there's toys and there's this and there's that.
Like merchandise. Okay.
Merchandising. So like, that's always been a big part of the Marvel machine. But yeah, his departure comes amid Disney cutting 7,000 jobs in a massive overhaul of its employee corps. That's part of a $5.5 billion cost-cutting maneuver to position the Mouse House even more for the streaming-obsessed entertainment era. So his part of Marvel Entertainment will be folded into other parts of the Disney corporate umbrella. And then while he was there, he also dealt with like comic book publishing, and typically it would earn $40 to $60 million annually. And he also, as far as game licensing and arena shows, he did a lot of stuff. But like, I think we got to talk about this like a while ago, that Disney is cutting a lot of jobs. I mean, I still can't go over how they introduced that when they were like, we're laying off all these employees, but look, we're making sequels to these movies.
For millions.
So yeah, but it's been like a really interesting time, like behind the scenes. For Mo, I want to get the lady's exact name right, because there's another person.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I want to get it right though, because I don't want to mess it up. But there's a lot of speculation about why she left, and
Okay, I thought it was pretty straightforward, but maybe not so much.
There's like rumors, so I don't want to like probably, I guess, go too deep into that. I guess like. But Victoria Alonso is the person's name, and she left Marvel after nearly a 2-decade run, and she's Marvel executive and EP of several movies. And they keep saying at the beginning of this, like, no reasons were given for her departure, which was effective Friday when it happened, and it's not yet clear where she's heading. Her exit is quite a shocker given her amiable demeanor and passion for all things Marvel. Like, she is one of the, alongside Kevin Feige, had been like a very integral part in like their success. There is a rumor that she took issue with them removing something from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania to get it to avoid some kind of censorship in another country, so they could show it there. And there was a lot of internal, again, rumor, but like fighting about that. And but yeah, I mean, like, it's a lot of like changes.
Was it Victoria Alonso's firing that came down to her promoting the documentary Argentina 1985? It was a breach of her contract. That's what I thought was a straightforward. You broke the contract. You shouldn't have been promoting another film outside of Disney Marvel, so you're gone. That's kind of like what I thought, but that's an interesting perspective on the whole.
Man, she actually pushed also for a lot of diversity in entertainment at Marvel. She is one of the, like they said, one of the main spearheaders of that. Of course, with a lot of these people, when they're behind the scenes figures like this, I don't really know, and initially, like, how important they are to the overall machine until you start to read like how much she was involved in in some of their biggest releases. So it was a big deal that after that much time,
2 decades. That's crazy.
2 decades. She just a very, all the other stories I've seen written about her is that she was just a very, I guess, good person to work with. And, like, everyone had very nice things to say about her. It's just like, sometimes with these companies, though, there's all these like internal shakeups and stuff happens.
Still politics.
Yeah. So, we'll update you too with more on that. Hopefully, it's like we were talking about it offline. It's interesting to see Marvel, like, usually I think they've been really good at like hiding certain like any kind of behind the scene hiccup,
I don't hear a lot about What's going on behind the curtain with them?
DC is not like that person that's like, well, all of our laundry's out there. Like,
yeah, very much so.
Yeah, it's interesting to, I think for some people enjoy seeing some kind of cracks in the Marvel machine. Like, there's a few, I don't personally, but like, it's, you could tell like some of the vibe on social media. They're like, oh, like they're not totally invincible.
That's right.
So yeah, but hopefully no more. I mean, I hope that like whatever is going on behind the scenes now, it's like whatever people they have in place now, like everything is kind of copacetic, because it can affect some of the projects moving forward when there's like different changes and positions of like that level.
Right.
All I would hope is that all the stuff that she did spearhead for diversity at that company, I just hope they maintain it and like they kind of use her example moving forward, or continue to use, even though she's not there anymore.
Right.
So yeah, it still sucks though. I mean, to hear someone like after that much of a
run. No doubt devastating for her, given how long she's been, part of the executive committee and obviously loves the company. So that disappointing, but maybe she, maybe there's greener pastures on the other side for her. Hopefully, a woman of her experience. All is not lost. And sounds like, is it Ike or Ivan Perlmutter? He's probably just due for retirement by the looks of him.
Yeah, he looks like he's pretty old.
Yeah, and earning $40 to $60 million a year for who knows how long. Like, time maybe just to hit the sandy beaches and enjoy retirement.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I agree. Well, I hate to what other notes can we kind of nothing like it was this was an interesting read because it felt like it was kind of quiet a little bit.
Totally quiet. There was still some stuff, but nothing like too headline grabbing.
Which I'm kind of fine with sometimes.
It's nice.
It's less to keep up with when we have to like record these episodes. Like I pray for like a slow news week.
It's like this is a chance to talk about some other stuff, like hit some more trailers if it's a particularly trailer heavy week. The only other thing that I have jotted down, maybe to throw your way, just to quickly chat about, because I don't have much to even contribute about it, but this is the little secret bit of news, not so much secret, but just a little bit of context for the viewers. We've been trying to hit each other with some news. Like a lot of the times we give a little bit of discussion onto what points we're going to talk about without going into length. But lately we've been trying to see if there's a little bit of news that the other maybe hasn't heard about, or like try to get a genuine reaction out of the other. So we never talked about this. I'm sure you've heard it though, but I see Josh Friedman, who wrote Avatar 2, is now being slated to write Marvel's Fantastic Four. So I wanted to see if you'd heard that or what your thoughts about that. Were you didn't see Avatar 2 yet though, did you?
No, it's actually available to watch it. It's available to watch at home now.
Oh, okay. Maybe that'll be the I haven't
seen it. So I have like no excuse anymore. But yeah, it's available to watch at home.
Oh, sure you do. There's lots of stuff out there to watch, but
like Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Like Breaking Bad.
Yeah, man.
No, it's funny you threw that at me. I hadn't heard that until right now. So that's pretty interesting. Well, I'm glad that it like Fantastic Four is moving forward in some way. I mean, that's the one. By the way, I always think about this when I think about Fantastic Four because, God, we got that crappy one with like Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, Josh Trank's version.
I always go back to like, God, you guys didn't know how lucky we were in 2005 when you guys thought that one with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans was like kind of shitty. It looks pretty damn good by comparison.
One? Yeah,
I actually think that Fantastic Four, like people have revisited that and they're like, that's not as bad as like I remember. Like,
right?
It's fun. I just, I always joke with like people about that. I was like, the perfect Fantastic Four movie has already been made, and it was called The Incredibles. And I think that is why it's been so hard to like.
That is so funny.
Right. It is right. But yeah, I mean, I do like to hear movie four. I was so excited when John Watts was going to direct Fantastic Four, but then I understand
he's not doing it anymore.
And like his reasons for not wanting to do it, he was burnt out after doing all those Spider-Man movies. And he felt like he couldn't give it like the creative
attention
that he and I felt that. I mean, those are huge movies, a lot of people to please, so I get it.
Probably a headache to manage.
But I am like the Fantastic Four, whatever they do with it in the MCU, I'm still I'm so intrigued by the idea of like who they're gonna pick to be in it. There's always rumors about different people, and like, but this is one of the ones that either if they already know who they're going with and they're just keeping it quiet, or they still don't like really know. I'm sure they have a list of people that they want to be in it.
Definitely.
But like, I remember for a while everyone would fan cast like Emily Blunt and like John Krasinski as like, and I love that she finally was like, I don't want to do it. Like, I'm not gonna do it.
And the British accent.
No, she's like, I'm just like, and she means it in a very like, it's crazy though, because she almost was in the MCU. She was originally cast. She was originally cast as Black Widow.
No way, Emily Blunt was.
Yeah, but then she had scheduling conflicts with a movie called Gulliver's Travels, I believe, and she couldn't do it.
One with Jack Black.
With Jack Black. Oh. So I would, I'd be mad at myself too if I turned down, like, if I couldn't like film. I would feel some kind of way about watching these movies too. I'm like, oh, that could have been me.
Maybe we wouldn't have gotten her in the Quiet Place movies.
True.
Which I'm happy we got her in those. And
honestly, Scarlett Johansson as a Beast in that role, so like
that worked out fine if you ask me.
Yeah, I think it worked out pretty good. Yeah. I always, they're talking about it on Icons on Earth. I feel like they should like pay us for like talking about their show so much. But
yeah, there you go.
But, she feels a certain way about how she was portrayed in Iron Man 2, where she felt like the character was more just like eye candy than like
fair
legitimate character. But I mean, that's fair for her to think that. But I actually think she has some like really cool, fucking badass. That whole fight that she has, like walking down that walkway, like Iron Man 2, is like probably one of the best scenes in the movie. And then when she like is just looking straight at the camera and just maces the guy without even looking at him, like he like so good. I still think she still looks like a badass, even though I do think because she has to hide who she is, I guess, that they do kind of play up her being like kind of like, oh, I'm just so pretty, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but she's done that really well too.
Right, but of course, by the time we get to the Avengers, she's a well-rounded, fully fleshed out character.
Right.
So she eventually, got to play the part the way she wanted to.
But yeah, Josh Friedman, good for him. Probably a lucrative deal, going to working with James Cameron on Avatar 2 to now being helmed to write. I don't know, but I think it was just writing credit for Fantastic Four. Like now being slated to write an MCU movie like that, it's no doubt going to be huge for his career. I don't know that he has any other writing credits. If he does, I'm ignorant to them. But definitely looking good for this particular scribe. So
I think so too. And also, work for James Cameron, that means you have like patience. So
there you go.
If you can work for James Cameron, you could probably deal with the MCU. So I mean,
imagine how long that script would have been. It's 3 hours of movie, 3 hours plus.
I know.
That's a novel.
And I'm just wondering how you write that, because there's so much probably that is like visually in James Cameron's like mind. So like, how are you writing that to like? I mean, I actually would love to kind of like peek at what that screenplay actually looks like. And like how it describes certain things. Like it'd be funny if it was just like completely like not very descriptive at all.
Right.
But yeah, I'd be really interesting to see hear that or read that. But yeah, good for her. I love when like screenwriters get like big opportunities like this.
100%. That's awesome.
You go from Avatar 2 to like writing Fantastic Four. Like,
hopefully it holds up.
Yeah, I hope so too.
It's be interested to see what he gives us. So yeah, that's the only other bit of news that I had. I wanted to know if there's anything else you wanted to cover.
I can throw one at you because
let's see it.
But I think you've probably heard it.
Maybe we'll see.
Mike Flanagan reportedly had like a big meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran about he pitched them something with Clayface, which is like a popular character in DC Batman universe.
Yes,
a lot of people thinks he pitched them on including that character in the Batman Part 2. Some places reported it that way, other places haven't reported it that way.
Right.
I don't know exactly how, like, what he talked to them about. They being very secretive about it, but it's a perfect character. I think. I hope they could scoop him up because Mike Flanagan is a very good director. He's on a lot of horror films and horror TV series that a lot of people have loved. He is, I think, like, I don't think he hasn't made anything bad yet, and he seems to have a good eye for this stuff. He's also going to be working on the Dark Tower series that they're doing for Amazon.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I think he'd be perfect to adapt this character, but it's unclear if he's pitching them on like a standalone thing or if he was pitching him as like being included in Matt Reeves's The Batman Part 2.
I'll chime in here with what I heard about that. I just want to preface by saying that, Mike Flanagan is undoubtedly one of the leading men in horror right now. Like, I first came on Mike Flanagan in 2013 with Oculus. That was the first I'd ever come across him. So I've been following him for a decade now. Love his work. Love everything he's done. Like you said, hasn't made anything even subpar yet. Just finished up Hill House a few months ago, his series. I was a little late to that game, but I want to do, what's his sequel series to that? Not sequel series, but his other horror series.
The Haunted of
Bly Manor.
Bly Manor, yeah.
Yes, I got to watch that next, but Hill House was great. Love his work. So here's what I heard about. I wasn't really sure what to believe. So is it been confirmed now that the Clayface is going to be a character in Matt Reeves' The Batman 2? Is that how it's shaping up?
It seems like it's going in that direction. I mean,
Right.
I
So
know, like, yeah, it seems like, yeah, because a lot of people, I mean, I thought it was interesting that a lot of people ran it as like, this is what, because Deadline didn't run it that way. They ran it as like, he just pitched them on an idea for
I
Clayface.
see.
But other places were, I think, because of course, all these different trades probably have different sources and stuff.
Right.
But it seems like everyone is leaning on that is what he pitched them on, including him in the Batman Part 2.
I see. So what I saw was Clayface is going to be a big part of Matt Reeves' The Batman 2. And I had originally seen that Mike Flanagan was the one that like kind of set that up and pitched that.
Yeah.
Then, because we were having this conversation on Sunday, yesterday, as of recording, with Cam, we were going over, like, we share movie news amongst each other as well. And he said that he heard that Mike Flanagan directly responded to this claim that he pitched that to Matt Reeves and was like, I don't know where this is coming from. That's not true at all. So maybe maybe he had that conversation with James Gunn and Peter Safran, because I hadn't heard anything about that. Wow. So I don't really know what to believe regarding that news. I was kind of like, it's partly I have heard some of it, but not this other part about James Gunn and where they're going to fit in that. So interesting little tidbit of info. I wasn't sure whether to believe, like, to what regard Mike Flanagan was involved in that, but neat to hear his name come up in that universe.
Yeah, I think he would be a very big hit if they could like have him involved in like some capacity. And that character is, I think he could do like that character justice too. Like, I just think that I hope those conversations went well. I mean, whether it's for the sequel or for something else.
Right. So I had literally never heard of Clayface until this news dropped. I don't know anything about that character, but I like the sound of him. I like the look of him. That'd be pretty cool. But is he is he like a supernatural sort of like villain for Batman?
So I want to make sure I get it right. Because all right, so here we go. Because I was introduced to this character on the old Batman the Animated Series, not from the 90s, and they used him used him a few times on that. They actually do that. Treat the character very well on that show, because that's one of the best animated series like ever. But I'll read this. For those who don't know about Clayface, he was introduced as part of Detective Comics number 40 in June 1940. The original Clayface was a moderately successful actor who adopted the identity of a character he portrayed in a horror film after turning to crime. He's appeared in numerous films, television series, animated works, video games, and other forms of media since his introduction. That's why the whole like horror element in that character doing that, like he was like one of those. I see. I think that'd be a really fun thing for Mike Flanagan to like dive into if he's their guy. If he's their guy.
Hopefully, I would love that.
And like with DC, we always hear about like they had talks. Like, I just hope these talks pan out, like really pan out.
Big time.
He'd be a big one to have, I think, on there.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where DC's going, especially Matt Reeves' Batman verse, because all the ingredients are lining up great for that. The first one was awesome. I really hoping they throw us some like different, lesser known, maybe theatric villains. Like Clayface would be great for someone like me who's like not a comic diehard to see somebody else that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
At least in like mainstream movies. Yeah. So I think that would be an awesome little addition for a villain. And
by the way, guys, those were two stories that we did not talk about beforehand. We were trying to do something a little off the cuff, so you'll probably hear more of that. It'd be really funny if I just stop you with one. You're like, oh, you just quickly start googling.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to. That's what I'm hoping to do. I would love to like be able to get each other with something, but it's hard when we both
are,
immersed in it. Exactly. You even more so. I know it's going to be hard to throw something at each other that we have not completely heard of at all. But even if we have another chance to talk about it beforehand to get a little genuine reaction and chat out of it, I think that's worthwhile. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we touched on everything.
I think so. Everything, almost everything.
Almost everything. I guess so. There's
box office.
We'll do this really quick. And these are actually the actual numbers now. I think because the actuals came out earlier today. So Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves opened to 37.2 million. So we were pretty close. I mean, I was too afraid to go too high because I said 35, I believe, and
yes, and I said 37. I'm just seeing that now.
So like there you go. You win. But we were both pretty close.
Hey, 35. like those are exactly pretty close enough. Yeah.
Right. And worldwide opening of 70.2 million. It's I think a decent start. It's a, like we said earlier, it's a 150 million dollar movie.
Yeah,
Um,
that's steep.
that's pretty steep, but I think this might be a thing with like word of mouth. Maybe it'll keep it around a bit. And
Yep.
I also think probably is more of a global player. I think they're going to look at that more than just how it does like domestically.
Yeah.
Mm.
D&D
But
is a pretty global, well-known property, so
right. And considering, the odds, I feel were stacked against it a little bit because, I wasn't the only one that kind of was like, I don't think this is going to be good. But, great reviews, great exits too from like opening day audiences as well. I mean, I think that like the people who saw it enjoyed it. I think that might give it some life in the weeks ahead. I thought there was going to be a chance that John Wick stayed number one, but
oh,
John Wick had a pretty big drop. I think
really?
when you start that high though, you start like in the 70s.
Okay,
Like I mean,
yeah.
like I think it's gonna level off though.
Have
But
any
it
updated numbers on John Wick 4? Just
it made $28.3 million this weekend, so it's
still,
down 61.6% from last weekend. But it
that's
also
still
already has made $123 million domestically and 245 million worldwide so
okay,
far.
so it's safe.
Also, horror movie fans, we're gonna have like the first Scream since Scream 2 to cross the $100 million mark domestically. Scream 6 made $5.3 million this weekend, down just 35.9%. It's sitting now at 98.2 million in the States. And yeah, so
Wow.
like Scream, the first one made $103 million domestic. I think Scream 2 did 101. And then
Okay, just
And
crossed the benchmark.
then Scream 3, 88, because that's not that good. And then Scream 4, way down, like 37. And then of course, like Scream 5 kind of rejuvenated things and like made it a little bit over like $80 million in the States. And now this one's gonna be one of the first ones since part
Hey,
two
love
to
it. That's
hit
awesome.
that threshold. And you know what? A win like that for horror movie fans is a win for us all. Cause like I'm surprised they haven't announced the next one yet.
Yeah, actually, it's a great
I mean,
point.
it already has surpassed the worldwide gross of the previous movie. Now it's made $147.6 million worldwide.
Seems like
And
a no-brainer.
it's not an expensive movie, guys. So like this is Paramount again. You have a little extra money laying around,
Yeah.
and Nev Campbell's people call you. Throw her a bone, please. It'd be nice.
100%.
It'd be nice to have her.
It just doesn't make sense not
I mean,
to at this point.
I was fine with her not being there. Not saying
Right.
that. I'm not saying it didn't work. It was fine. Love the
But-
core four. Love the core four.
Yep, that's right.
But come on, you have like extra money laying around. So like
You can afford some Nev Campbell, definitely.
But I wonder if this being successful, it like more successful than the last one, that they're like, yeah, we don't need her.
You know what? That's a great point. They could easily be thinking that too. Like, definitely the series is standing on its own legs without her. Maybe
Yeah.
this is kind of like an egg on the face moment. But regardless, they should definitely do her right. She is definitely the foundation of that series.
Yeah.
Let's see some Nev Campbell in Screen 7, which is undoubtedly gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as what's opening this weekend, there's the Super Mario Brothers movie and Air,
Mm.
which is like a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. So good
Still?
for you, Ben. Good for you,
Whoa.
Ben Affleck.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Everyone thinks you're the stoner, like, irresponsible one, the Matt Damon, Ben Affleck crew, but no,
Right? Not
you're a
necessarily.
good filmmaker.
That's good because he's coming off a couple two lesser received movies. Did he go Live by Night and then The Way Back? Were those his last?
Yeah. And like, honestly, like Ben Affleck his career has done that a lot, where
Yeah.
it ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
But
Well, good for him, man. Love me some Ben Affleck. So glad to hear
I
it.
don't know where to put this though. I mean, the tracking for Super Mario Brothers has it because it's opening over like there's a holiday, so it's playing like longer, like because of Easter and all that stuff.
Right.
So there's like I think the 5-day estimates right now of tracking is like as high as like 93 million for an opening weekend, because they think like the awareness on the movie is like very high, and of course it appeals to kids, but it also appeals to people who grew up playing the games. Like, I never know how to predict children's movies though, or movies that are made more so for kids.
Right. I've never even had to. I have no experience in that field, so I do not know. So which one do you want to like predict? You want to stick to one, or do you want to try and do predictions for both?
We'll do both.
Sure. Cool.
So I'll start with Air. Now, great reviews, but it's adult kind of skewy movie, and those kind of like can be hit and miss in theaters. Depending on like what will get the older demographic to come out for it. I think the really good reviews help. I think it's also great that even though Amazon Prime is behind this movie, that they're actually giving it a theatrical release. I think that is huge and maybe something
Right.
that Netflix can learn from, because like they're doing it and Apple TV Plus is doing it. Like, we didn't talk about this before, but Killers of the Flower Moon is getting a theatrical release in October. So like,
Yes.
and it's being, it being made by a streaming service like so I'm glad that like they are putting it out there. I think this might be a case where like reviews will kind of maybe help word of mouth, and it also has a really good ensemble cast. I think that kind of appeals to different quadrants.
Big.
But I'm not expecting like a huge opening weekend. I think this one that starts kind of small, but then like kind of has potential to like build.
Right.
But
Are we talking air? We started
yeah,
air.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with 15 opening weekend.
Okay.
$15 million. $15 million, not $15, guys, just in case. That's for one person saw it.
But yeah, one person's gonna go see it in like 3D. Yeah, no, that's fair. It's lower than I would have thought, but then again, like these movies are definitely going to be competing like with a broad range of moviegoers. So I bet you they're going to steal box office dollars from each other. Those are two big releases. I want to go, I'm going to just for fun, just go in a little bit different direction. I'm going to go with like 24. Just go up a little bit.
I can actually see it.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're too off. I think I can see it. I guess
there's a big enough gap between the two of us. I could see 15 too. You never know. But then again, it's a long weekend. That's going to be a factor. You know what? Easter, a lot of people.
Yeah.
Spending time with families, traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of different. I love when there's a lot of variables that go into the box office predictions. It's kind of make it interesting. But
right.
That's a good deficit. Like 9 million between our guesses. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go from
Super Mario Brothers be either.
How did the last one do? Did you happen to look that up? I didn't think to look until now.
I don't even think there was any. I mean, there's a live action one from the 90s.
That's what I'm thinking. That's the one that
definitely flopped when it came out. It bombed.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a different beast though. It's animated and appeals more to kids. I don't think the tracking is too far off.
Said it was tracking at what, 93?
At 3, and there are some people that think it can go higher.
Holy.
All right, since they think it'll go higher, I'm gonna go and say 100 on the nose.
100 on the nose.
$100 million.
Huh. Damn, I'm really conflicted about where to go with my Bros. Like, I can see maybe Air taking a few of its dollars, but then again, like, you can't underestimate the power. Like, as many of these kids are going to be dragging their folks to the theaters over the weekend. Damn. I'm going to go a little bit lower and I'm going to meet at like 92.
Okay, perfect. So you're like a little below tracking, just slightly.
Yeah, just trying to mix it up a little bit.
And I got ambitious.
But I can totally see. I have a feeling you're going to be more accurate than I will be, but I just wanted to make it a little different.
Yeah, and I will remember to I forgot to do it for Dungeons and Dragons, guys. Sorry that I didn't get some of your box office predictions for that. But I will remember to put the one and I will do it for both of these movies to see like where you guys think this is going to open. However, I did read some people's posts about Dungeons and Dragons, and everyone was, like I said, like all over the map, like on their own people predictions. Like
generally are, yeah. There's a lot of funny ones.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. We will see where these two movies land. No reviews yet for the Super Mario Brothers movie. I think it's still under embargo, but that'll also maybe. I mean, it might be critic proof though. We'll see. Yeah, but yeah. That's
I think that wraps it up. Sums up. That was another dense episode. Lots of stuff going on, even though it didn't really seem like it was going to be throughout the week. There's a lot of like subtle little sleeper bits of news. To anyone listening that wants to follow along with our box office predictions, make sure to tune in next week where we'll go over last week's numbers. Thanks again for tuning in. Those of you listening, appreciate your support. Thanks for tuning into the Back to the Blockbuster. Stay tuned for another episode 2 of Deep Dives with Owen and Gaius coming at you here shortly. Thanks a lot, guys, for continually supporting the show. We love to see how many of you guys are interacting with us. It's always a great time. Owen, Gaius, and myself, we love doing this for you guys. As we were saying at the beginning of the episode, it makes Mondays a little bit better for us. So we really love that we can bring this content to you guys. So as always, thanks for tuning in. You guys know where to find us, wherever you guys get your podcasts, wherever you guys go on social media. At Back to the Blockbuster is the handle. Make sure you show us some love there. We got lots of content for you guys to interact with. And until next week, my friend. Actually, I'll see you shortly after this. We'll be talking about Wild Things.
Thanks. Yep.
I'll see you in a few minutes. How about that instead of next week?
Sounds good. Peace.
Right on, guys. Peace out.